Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast for July 5th, 2025. Happy 4th of July to those who celebrated. I am the Uncharted Wolf, and I am joined today with a very special panel to talk about a lot of depressing news, but, hopefully we can dissect it in a very good, smart way like we tend to do at this podcast. I'm joined by Bench.
Hello, I've been on the beach.
I'm also joined by Fusion.
Hello, I haven't been on the beach.
And I'm also joined by Bob.
I got laid off from the beach.
Well, we're all on the beach in our own separate ways. We're going to talk about that later in the show, but we have a lot of news to kick off with some layoffs in the industry, which I always hate covering, but we got to cover it. Just little small tidbits from there, interesting news all around the industry. And then we ended off with what we've been playing and just hopefully give you guys a nice Saturday podcast to listen to in pretty difficult time for the games industry, but hopefully we can parse it, make some laughs, make fun of people, mostly Bob, because that tends to happen whenever he's on the podcast. So yeah, hopefully we get to have a fun cast. Before we get started, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your favorite podcasts are. Like us on any of the platforms, and also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at A Slice of Gaming. Now, before we even get started, I real quick want to ask you three. You guys weren't on the show last week. We did our Q3, kind of like what's looking forward to games coming out in Q3 2025. And I just want to ask you guys right now, it's like, what are the games like right now in Q3, July, August, September, that you're currently looking forward to? I want to start with you, Bench.
Number one's easily Trails in the Sky, first chapter. I've had to stop looking at promotional material because they're showing off stuff that I just prefer to experience myself, towns and stuff reinvented. I want to walk through those and experience those, but I'm extremely excited for that game. And Donkey Kong.
I want you to know, Bench, I was about to make fun of you, like, he's excited for a game he's already played. Then I realized what the game I'm excited for the most, so I can't even say anything. Fusion, what about you?
Yeah, it's actually tough because I feel like my August, there's a lot of games in August I'm really interested in, but one isn't sticking out more than other. I guess Metal Gear Solid Delta is I am really excited about that, but for some reason, Marathon got delayed, so I can't say that. I would say I've been feeling Mafia a lot lately. I don't know why. It's just every time I see Mafia, I feel like it looks really good. So I would say Mafia. I'm gonna go out of my way and believe that I do think Silk Song comes out within the next 3 months. So when that does have a release date, that would be my answer. But until then, I'd say Mafia or Metal Gear.
Yeah, Mafia is an interesting one. I've seen some people kind of skeptical about it, but I feel like everything they've said and shown about the game, it's like, oh no, you're addressing all the issues that 2 and 3 had, and it seems like this one's just going to be an overall great time for the fans of that franchise.
Yeah, I think it's, as someone who's enjoyed both 1 and 2 and then kind of fell off 3 because of the open world stuff, I'm really excited for them to just go back to that linear type storytelling.
Yeah, right there with you. Bob, what about you?
The King is returning. College Football 26 is next week.
No, don't you dare.
We are running it back. Soggy's game of the year. This year's the year.
That's like answering Madden.
Well, okay. The crazy thing is, I was telling Fusion this the other day. I might actually buy Actually, I already did buy the double pack. I haven't bought a Madden in probably 7 to 8 years because I just think that they've not paid attention to the franchise, and especially with college football back, there was no reason. But they actually are making some improvements to the franchise, and I'm like, I haven't bought it in a while. Like, why not? And then, College Football 26 had a lot of improvements. I know you and Beef were talking about it last week, but they really. It's crazy to have a sports game actually be like, yeah, we're listening to the community and we're providing a lot of those improvements and feedback that you guys have been asking for, and it's massive.
Rare.
Yeah, right. And so I genuinely am excited for 26 because last year was a good foundation, and now they're building and improving on it, and I think the game will be genuinely better than last year, which is crazy to say.
I agree with everything Bob says, honestly, but I didn't want to go the college football route because we're playing college football in 2 days, so I just didn't want to say it. But I respect his answer.
But also Bonanza too.
Okay, good. I was like, get a real answer.
Yeah, Bonanza's probably number 2. That direct really made me more
Yeah.
excited. And now that I got my copy of Odyssey, well, not my copy, but a copy of Odyssey back, I've been kind of bouncing around in there, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited for another Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, Bonanza's been in the news. We're gonna have that as a topic later. It's a pretty stacked quarter because there's also like Silent Hill, there's Shinobi, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, Metal Gear, Lost Soul Side. There's a lot of good shit coming out in the next 3 months that I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get to all of them, especially if like Fusion said, if Silksong decides to shadow drop, it's like, well, okay, there kind of goes my plans because I really want to play that game. And then that's what, like Hollow Knight's decently long, right? Fusion, it's like 20 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's definitely longer than like your normal indie length. Like I personally have like around 40 hours in Hollow Knight, but I did a lot of the side stuff. I feel like if you probably
Yeah.
stuck to just the main stuff, it's still probably a 20-hour game, like you said.
Yeah. So yeah, very stacked quarter, very excited. Something I'm not excited to talk about though, boys, is the layoffs. Xbox is in the news yet again for laying off employees. This happened around the same time last year, if I remember correctly. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
Probably the year
I
before
forget.
that, and the year before that, and the year before that.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, it's a yearly cadence.
When people say
Uh,
it's Xbox's year next year, they just mean more layoffs at this point. So
Honestly, yeah. Uh, let's start with what's it called? Xbox lays off thousands of employees, plus multiple game cancellations. There's a lot of bullet points to get into here. There's a lot of stuff. I just want to start off real quick with this Jason Schreier on Blue Sky. Mass layoffs at Xbox has started. Candy Crush maker King told employees that it is cutting 10% of staff or 200 jobs. Bethesda's Europe offices were hit too. U.S. offices are expected to inform people this morning. More to come shortly, and more definitely came very shortly after that. And I also saw, I forgot to put this in the actual headlines, but Churn 10 lost about 50% of its workforce. And there's also a rumor about effectively Forza Motorsport is canned, and now they're a support studio for Forza Horizon. And a whole lot of stuff after that I want to get into like more specifically. But just as a whole, how do we feel about the layoffs? Obviously, we're not very happy right now, but just any specific thoughts on it that anyone wants to start off with?
I'm gonna need Bop, the defender, to go.
Yeah, I guess I'll go
Defend
first.
his king.
I mean, I've definitely taken a bit of I think Fusion has called it cope. Been called a contrarian for a couple of my takes, and I get it. I've kind of backed off from them a bit because at the end of the day, like there's really no like even if you can justify it, you shouldn't have to. Microsoft's like $1 trillion company. There's absolutely no reason for them to be gutting studios this aggressively, especially so shortly after acquiring so much of studios. And the like so at the end of the day, I am still very disappointed and very upset. Um, that being said, I think if you had to, most of these things wouldn't be surprising. Like most of the uh, cancellations and layoffs are coming from places where if we had to guess before any of this happened, we probably would have landed on these places. I'd say the one thing that really is the biggest bummer is the ZeniMax MMO because by all accounts that came out of left field. That was promising, and like from what we heard, it looks super cool. So that to me strikes me as like the hi-fi rush slash tango of this round. Like it's crazy that we're now comparing layoffs to layoffs of like, oh yeah, this one was surprising, but the rest of these, it's like kind of you could see the writing on the wall. Um, and really, my only other thing here is that I think besides the obvious gaming implications, just looking at Microsoft as a whole, more and more people have been speculating and reporting that Microsoft's investment into AI and open AI specifically has kind of caused not necessarily like the gaming specific stuff, but it's caused Microsoft to force layoffs because they spent $80 million investing into more AI infrastructure. Like that's an Activision Blizzard that they are making into AI, and no one likes Copilot. No one likes the AI integration tools they have already built out. They're not making nearly as much money as the ABK deal. Like there's no Call of Duty and OpenAI that is making them a ton of money on the back end. So they're bleeding way more money. And now investors are like, well, if you didn't spend all this stupid money on video games, you could have invested $160 million on AI, and maybe we could have actually made a profit, which doesn't make any sense. And so therefore now Microsoft, and Satya and Amy Hood are basically saying, okay, well, to make the AI losses not look that bad, we got to gut other departments. And so gaming was a big one to get that axe. And at the end of the day, that's the frustrating part, is that no matter how much Microsoft seems to want to invest in their gaming division, they do not treat it like a game. Like they do not treat it um, as like a Sony or Nintendo or really any other gaming focused like big studio or organization does. They treat it as another department of this conglomerate, and like this is one of those times where it's like, well, yeah, that's terrible because of the aftermath of this week.
I
Yeah,
just
I
gotta
think.
ask. Sorry, Ben. You go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I just gotta ask, and I'm kind of like 5 years into this gen. How do these people still have jobs? How does Phil Spencer still the CEO? How is Matt Booty fuck up multiple times? You are the head of Xbox Game Studios, constantly fucking up, constantly laying off studios, constantly allowing games to get canceled way too late in development. Because, Bob, what you said about, oh, a lot of these aren't surprising. Yeah, they wouldn't be surprising 4 years ago. They wouldn't have been surprising in 2021 after the Everwild director said, "Oh, we don't even know what this game is," and then left the studio a month later. That's when you should have canceled Everwild and said, "We don't know what this thing is going to be. We're just going to cancel it and work on something else instead of wasting our studio's time." Or maybe the initiative, when the entirety of the like big staff at the initiative had to leave, like the big people that you were saying is making this quadruple A studio, they all left. It was like left with like one or two actual like major people, and you had to get like the director from Wolverine to join the initiative later on. Why didn't you cancel it then at that point instead of stringing them along for like 4 years until 2025, where it's like, okay, now things are actually starting to look better for Perfect Dark? And we know that there's been turbulent development behind the scenes. There's always been turbulent development for this game. Why did you wait so long to cancel it? Why didn't you cancel it in 2021 when it was clearly not shaping up? And now we actually saw the game, we saw what it was going to look like, and then you decide to cancel it. That is just bad leadership. That is bad management. And the ZeniMax MMO, I'm sorry, that is the one that genuinely to me is the most egregious of them all, because they were in pre-production since 2018. They were actually starting production. They were going to be getting this thing out in 2028. Yes, 10-year development cycle. That's insane. It's ridiculous. But now when the resources were actually looking
MMO.
up, and it's a fucking MMO, that shit's gonna make a lot of money. Clearly, people were very into it. I wanted to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. Phil Spencer couldn't get his hands off the controller because he was so addicted to it, because it was that good. And then you decide 3 months later, it's like, actually, no, we're gonna cancel it. I'm sorry, these guys got to go. I'm done with Matt Booty.
Yep.
I'm done even trying to think of an idea that Matt Booty should stay at his job, because this game came out and it worked out pretty well. Okay, I feel like these games come out in spite of Matt Booty being a terrible leader. Okay, you want to know what Matt Booty did before Xbox? He was at Midway. You want to know what happened to Midway when he was there? They shut down because he sucks at his job, and yet he keeps getting promoted because they can't find anyone else to fill his position. Just get rid of him. I'm sick of Matt Booty for absolute most. Phil Spencer, I think, should go too. The only one that I can even hear an argument for is Sarah Bond, because she's a bit newer and I don't think she's nearly as involved at the studios. But I'm not going to sit here and act like she's like perfectly, just totally fine and like removed from all criticism. You need to get rid of these C-suite people. They clearly don't know what the fuck they're doing. They haven't been knowing what the fuck they're doing. I don't care if Phil Spencer's, oh, he's a gamer, he gets us. Yet clearly he doesn't understand the business.
Yeah, you took a lot of the words out of my mouth. Like the one thing I was going to start with, the one word that comes to mind is mismanagement. Because I think, like Bob said, you could make an argument for two of these games to have been canceled. However, that would have been 3 or 4 years ago and not stringing them along. And you have all of these decisions and hands-offness that's been strange. Like Microsoft has been very hands-off for the past 5 to 6 years or longer since they made those acquisitions in 2018, just letting the teams do their thing, which honestly I don't think is how you should run a business. You need to be hands on because if something's not working like it obviously is, you can't say, "Oh, we'll just restart and take your time." No, you something that the VGC podcast said is like you should have brought some bastards in when you bought Activision Blizzard because obviously they know how to make money. They know how to make it work and it's you don't need to be the friendly guy. You can be an enemy and have a successful business. That's how the world works. It's how these other companies are working. You don't see PlayStation or Nintendo coming out here talking every time because it would bite them in the ass every other week like it does for Xbox. Just mismanagement and the ZeniMax Online MMO, like MMOs take a long time to develop, but they also are sustainable for a long time. On top of Perfect Dark and Everwild, Perfect Dark definitely stings more than most because I was excited for it. Everwild, I've stood on that it should have been canceled long ago because obviously it wasn't working. Just mismanagement. Everyone at the top is doing a terrible job. It's hard to just, and now other people are paying for it outside of your studios. Like we'll get to the John Romero's studio. Like people outside of your bubble are being affected because of poor decisions at the helm of your company, which you never want to see. So I just think just mismanagement. Like Matt Booty needs to go. I've said that for 2 straight years now. Phil
And he's
Spencer.
still
I
there.
mean, Phil Spencer's there because he just says yes. He's a yes man. Is pretty much what I've come to think of him as. He says yes. He'll kind of speak out when he needs to the public, and people will kind of forget about the bad things going on. But I think we're kind of past that. He needs to go. And honestly, like the deeper conversation, which I hope we get to, is like, what's the future of Xbox? Like, I am not confident. The first time these layoffs happened is when I decided, one, I needed money, but at the same time, like, I don't have a confidence in Xbox to want to invest in their ecosystem through digital games that I would for one of their competitors. To the fact that I just don't want to spend money on them because is it going to be there in 10 years? And right now for Xbox, I'd make the prediction that what Xbox is now probably won't be there in 10 years. It'll look completely different. There'll be a publisher, which I think is honestly what's best for them, being a third-party publisher. But at that point, why do you need hardware? Microsoft is a software company. They're not a... So why make hardware when you can make software? So I just think a whole, like, there's so much to go on about Xbox and these layoffs
We'll
that I
get
think
to
is
all
just
of this.
detrimental to Xbox as a whole and their future. And I think everyone should kind of be worried about them because they're just going to keep investing into AI and they're going to keep losing money. And then it's going to, what if Xbox is shut down? They bought all these studios. Well, I don't think Xbox shuts down. They bought a lot of studios that they now have in their hands as a way to cut costs.
Yeah, Fusion, we get some bars off before we get into any of the specifics.
Yeah, I mean, you guys covered a lot of what I was gonna say, but it is the thing that I'm gonna come to leadership, and I'm just tired of the whole regime getting a chance after a chance after a chance after a chance. Like I get, Phil Spencer probably saved Xbox 10 years ago when the Xbox One launched and it was horrible, and then Game Pass. Like Phil Spencer did a lot for them. In the last 8 years, he's done shit. I don't care. Like, I don't care that Phil Spencer plays video games. I don't care that he looks like the good guy he looked like the good guy for 5 straight years and the layoffs happened. Since 2023, Xbox has laid off like 20,000, well, not Xbox as a whole, but Microsoft has laid out like 20,000 people. Like, you just can't lay off 20,000 people in 2 years and it be okay. And you look like a cool company. As Bob said earlier, a $1 trillion company? No, they're multi-trillion dollar company. 3.6 trillion to be exact. The biggest company in the world. And they're laying off 20,000 people. And I'm sure the people on the yachts and the billionaires and everyone else in the company, they don't give a rat's ass. They don't care because that's just how these companies work. But the fact that Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, and I'm going to throw Sarah Bond in there because I think Sarah Bond, I don't think one of them can stay. And it even goes deeper than that to people we probably can't even name. but the entire regime has to be gone at some point. We can't keep getting layoffs. We can't keep seeing a Phil Spencer email. Like, yes, other companies have layoffs. Other companies do not have layoffs this often and as large as Microsoft. And yes, that is because Microsoft is just naturally a bigger company, but that's because they went and spent 70 billion and 10 billion for these other publishers that they completely grabbed. And I was watching a Skill Up video this morning, and he made a good point of, since Xbox has taken Activision, since Xbox has taken Blizzard, Bethesda, what have they done for those publishers? Those publishers aren't better today under Xbox. Xbox has done nothing for these publishers. More people have lost jobs, and we've gotten mediocre video games. So what is Xbox? What is Phil Spencer? What is Matt Booty? What is Sarah Bond doing to help these studios? From an outside perspective, it looks like nothing. And it sucks to say this because Xbox has been having a pretty decent year on paper. They haven't hit every game, and a lot of the games this year are very much like you either really like it from the Xbox side or you don't. But like, it felt like this was the year that I was like fully in on like Xbox and their vision. And this doesn't completely ruin that vision, but it's also the thing of like, I can't trust Xbox to get these studios and give them the best opportunities to succeed anymore. When 7 years ago, I was excited when Phil Spencer went up on stage and he got Undead Labs and he got Double Fine and he did those things where he got these companies. I was excited. I'm like, okay, they're gonna have Xbox money. They're gonna be in good hands. Half of those studios still haven't put out a video game since that moment 8 years ago. And I still don't trust Xbox to take care of those studios. I still don't trust them to, if State of Decay 3 is anything less than good, that Undead Labs will be around. Hellblade 2, I am shocked. I'm genuinely shocked Ninja Theory was not canned this week. Yep. Where you have like the initiative gets canned, that makes a little bit more sense. But I am shocked Ninja Theory walks away. Compulsion Games. A lot of us here like South of Midnight. A lot of critics and a lot of other people don't like South of Midnight. I was surprised Compulsion Games wasn't on the chopping block. But I'm still not convinced that they won't be by the end of the year. Or they won't be by the time they get to put another video game out. Because Xbox has so much IP now, and they have so many big heavy hitters that at some point they can just be that third-party publisher that just puts out the Call of Duty, the Halos, and the Forzas, and that's all they care about. Now, I'm not going to predict that's where Xbox goes, because I do think at the end of the day there is still value in those little projects, and there is still values in the Indiana Jones and the Avoweds and the Outer Worlds 2 coming out later this year. I think they still see value there, but it's just like, as a dev, as a publisher, I would be terrified for Xbox to work under Xbox at this point. And I feel like you can't say the same thing for a lot of the other publishers around the world. And we're talking about the publisher with the most money by a lot. And it just comes down to leadership, like you guys all said. And we've been saying on the podcast for years, but I think Phil Spencer and them have to leave. Like, cool, they're cool dudes, I guess. Like, I get to see their faces every time Xbox shows up, but I don't care anymore. They're obviously, that Phil Spencer email was egregious. Like, it was disgusting what he put in that email where he's like, this is the best Xbox has ever done, blah, 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 blah. Because of the people here, this is where we're at. But we're actually cutting 9,000 of you guys, sorry. Like, Phil Spencer, like you said, is just a yes man, and he is just the face of Xbox right now. Like, a lot of it doesn't just come back to him. It's shareholders above him, but I don't care. Obviously, we need new people in there. It's the same thing with Jim Ryan and PlayStation. Like, we saw the Jim Ryan initiative with live service stuff and the bullshit that Jim Ryan was doing and the layoffs under Jim Ryan. PlayStation cut him. I mean, he retired, whatever, but like, he got out of there. You know what I mean? Like, he got out. He's gone. And PlayStation from that moment has had to do multiple different regimes. I don't understand how Xbox for the last decade has stayed to the same regime. It had not worked a single time. Game Pass, them creating Game Pass, whatever, was their big like moment of, okay, maybe we can keep these guys around. Ever since the creation of Game Pass, the numbers have been stalled for like 4 years straight. I have no idea how the regime and the leadership is still there and it feels like not even close to being fired. Every time Jez tweets or anytime any of these people tweet in the industry or have articles, it seems like Xbox is fine with having Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty around, and I just don't understand how.
And also, it doesn't inspire confidence that their next console launch could very well do worse than the Wii U, because there's no reason to buy an Xbox. So then what's going to happen?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of right there with you too. It's just fully like frustrated, annoyed. Do you guys think there will be like just a personal breaking point for you where you're like, if they can a certain studio, cancel a certain game, where you're like, I'm done with Xbox, I'm not buying their products anymore?
I just never boycott stuff.
Listen,
That's kind of a
Yeah, no, I get that. That's fair. I will say, man,
Mm.
Toys for Bob or Double Fine get touched. Oof, I'm done. At that point, it's like, yeah, I'll play Elder Scrolls 6. That's it.
I mean, the Perfect Dark one, it really does hurt me a lot. Like that was my most anticipated Xbox game, and like that was one of my most anticipated games just in general. And I know all the plethora of things that had to go through to be to this point of getting canceled. But like we saw the game last year. Don't show me the game last year and make it look really good, fake or not. Like that was a really good showing of your game. I really enjoyed it. And then a year later, be like, yeah, we're just canning it and we're putting down the studio. Like I've said on this podcast 100 times, my favorite thing in the world is the creation of new studios and new IP. Grand Perfect Dark ain't a new IP, but it's still it was a brand new studio. I was so excited. I was so excited for the initiative as a whole of this idea of this studio, as this was going to be Xbox's big Naughty Dog. Like they put in their words, this was their quadruple A studio where they were going to compete against the Santa Monicas and the Naughty Dogs of the world. And like I was so excited about that, and it was just like the leadership and management of this studio is why it failed. Like we can put everything that the initiative went through and all that. I'm sure we can put a lot of it on the Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and Sarah Bonds of the world, of them either being way too hands off or just not caring. It just feels like at the end of the day, they do not know how to manage studios, and the same people who didn't know how to manage 8 studios 8 years ago somehow went out and got 120 studios. How did we let the people who couldn't manage 10 or less get 100 of them?
Has there been a studio that's been alive for 8 years and not shipped a game?
I don't think so. I think this would be it.
I mean, it's just
probably the biggest game cancellation of the decade as well. It's kind of insane what's happened.
Yeah, it's crazy because also it's just there's no faith there from Matt Booty and that team.
Well, let's get into the specifics. This is probably the most egregious one for me personally. Just when you look at the facts, Jason Schreier brings up the MMORPG project from ZeniMax Online Studios, maker of Elder Scrolls Online, has been canceled as part of the Xbox layoffs. Sources tell Bloomberg News the project, codenamed Blackbird, had been in development since 2018. Still more news to come this morning. There was a lot of extra info that came out of this cancellation, how they were in pre-production for a while, and then like they were like gearing up for full production. They started getting people from the Elder Scrolls team to work on this project. How Phil Spencer played it and said it was really, really good. This is the one that hurt me the most, Fusion, was that it had Titanfall movement. It's like, damn, even games that are like Titanfall can't survive. It's kind of insane.
if you compare your game to Titanfall, you're just doomed to fail. You're just done. You can't come out.
Yep. Yeah, this is insane to me. Listen, I mean, I'm not gonna try to like pretend that I was personally excited. I'm not an MMO guy, but at the very least, I was excited for ZeniMax Online to do something new, do something exciting that they've been working on since 2018, and you decide to cancel it now when it was like gearing up for full production to be released in 3 years. The thing was ready. It was like just a little bit more time and it was ready to go. We would have seen it. It would have been exciting. But instead they were like, no, let's actually just cancel it right when it's about to start really getting into production. And also, I know this from the Elder Scrolls Online community. These guys are insanely fast. They always get a new thing every single year ready for this game. So it tells me it's like they probably would have been efficient enough to get it even earlier than 2028, or at least like really hit that 2028 date. It says a lot about like you can't be like treating a studio that at this point has made you so much money with ESO and just like say, actually, we're just going to completely can this thing that clearly was ready to go. And I wanted to bring this up as well. ZeniMax Online Studios president Matt Ferror leaving the company. I got this headline from Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. Matt Fior, the president of ZeniMax Online, has announced that he is leaving the company later this month. The news comes the same day as Xbox is holding mass layoffs. In a statement posted to social media, and he talks about his decision to leave. And this comes off as a decision that wasn't like, oh, it's a coincidence. I think he knew this thing was going to get canceled, and he's like, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. And I want to point out, this guy saved Elder Scrolls Online in a big way. He is a very important part of what makes Elder Scrolls Online the big moneymaker it is today. He was the guy you always saw at the Bethesda E3 conferences that everyone would cheer and get excited for, because he was a figurehead for that community. And now Xbox, because of their stupidity, just lost a very important asset to that team. it's psychotic. I think this is by far the most egregious cancellation when it's this close to being ready to go.
I mean, the
Yeah,
same thing. It's just
you go,
they
Ben.
bought all these studios for the IP and talent at the studios, and now they have none of the talent.
Yeah, I was gonna say in that same vein, it's the same thing of like, and Bop will have to help me here because I don't know all the names, but with this dude leaving, that I already just forget the name you saw, but he's high in leadership at this team. How many really important leadership positions have left studios after Xbox acquired them? Feels like a lot.
Harvey
Talking
Smith
like
that
Bethesda or overall?
Just overall, like I know Bethesda had a lot. I know like just I know Blizzard had some. Like how like it feels like important people, like Binks are saying, talent at the top of these studios who were like studio heads or like people know names. Like it feels like 90% of them outside of Todd Howard are gone. And it's just like,
Yeah,
how do you do that after you acquire these? These are some of the people that made the reason you acquired the studios in the first place. Like, why they either all retired or they were just kicked to the curb, and I don't understand that.
there was a specific thing. Yeah, Pete Hines, Harvey Smith, Shinji Mikami, John Johannes, Matt Furore. Um, and specifically, I mean, I'll point it out. Pete Hines, the guy over at Bethesda who did a lot of the marketing. Harvey Smith, he was at Arcane Austin, very big, influential figure within Arcane games and Dishonored and whatnot. Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident fucking Evil. John Johannes, director of Hi-Fi Rush. Matt Furore, obviously, we just talked about. And also, I had this earlier. Let me grab the headline itself. Oh, here it is. It's loading. Greg Males, who was at Rare for 35 years, creator of Banjo-Kazooie, and also the director of Sea of Thieves, that big live service game that makes them a shit ton of money. He decided to leave at the same time. That kind of just tells you that tells you so you're bleeding talent. These studios, you're just buying IP now. You're not buying talent.
Exactly. Is this not a red flag? Like, as people, you just name a lot of people that like, yeah, your casual fans aren't gonna know them, but like people like us who have video game podcasts are more hardcore gamers. These are big names that we know, and these are big games that made these studios, and these are big names that were important to the studios. They're not there anymore. You're getting these studios, the talent's leaving, and then you're just left with the IP, and the people who helped create the IP aren't there to make the IP good anymore. I don't understand how it keeps happening.
Yeah, it's aggravating. Also, I didn't mention it, Mike Ybarra, but maybe that's
Yeah, Mike Ybarra. Yeah.
annoying.
I mean, he isn't the coolest person, but he's still like
he did work. He did work at Blizzard
yes.
at the end of the day. It's hard not to argue that, of course.
He worked at Xbox even before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
And
he
they got
was a
rid of-
360, I think, era Xbox exec.
I think he was actually early Xbox One. I might be wrong there.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that time.
He was still a name
Yeah.
who did good work, and it was just like
Yeah.
it's just like it's whatever. I don't know. It's just like I know, like Bob talked about in the Discord a few days ago when we were just having conversations about it, and like a lot of those people either got bags or retired, and like I understand it wasn't all just like Xbox pushing them aside, but it just seems like such a massive red flag that name after name after name of important people are just not there under Xbox anymore. They're not at these studios anymore, and it's like it just I don't know. It just sucks to see. And I know that was just a side tangent because
There was more
we were all
news on
talking
top
about
of
the
that.
thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's also really easy to retire when you don't enjoy what you're doing and who you're dealing with.
Yeah, I know a lot of those people went on and did their own studios. I think I forget what Shinji Mikami's doing now.
He's working with Suda 51, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, that Hotel Barcelona game. Oh no, was that Shinji?
I don't think
I
they've
forget.
announced it.
No,
I
no,
think he's
that's
just said
yeah.
he's working with them.
Yeah, no, Swery is Hotel Barcelona. Okay, now I remember. But yeah, I mean Shinji Mikami, it's like that is the creator of Resident Evil. You had him under your wings and he left. It's like that's weird. That especially weird that he left the studio he founded. That just tells you all you need to know. Because Shinji Mikami, he left Capcom for similar reasons. Because Capcom was pissing him off, and he's like, "I'm done. I'm gonna do my own thing instead." It just says a lot on top of that. And then I also want to bring up sources. Everwild has been canceled as Xbox layoffs hit Rare. Andy Robinson over at VGC. Rare's a long in development original IP. Everwild has been canceled. According to people with knowledge of the project, team members were informed of the news, which comes amid significant layoffs across Microsoft and Xbox. Employees are likely to lose their jobs as part of broader restructuring of Sea of Thieves developer Rare, the sources say. As a massive, massive Rare fan, granted more classic Rare than modern Rare, but the last person who was at classic Rare is gone, so now Rare is just completely different. Now they're the what was it? Connect Sports. Basically, you have the Connect Sports team at Rare and Sea of Thieves, but you lose the director of Sea of Thieves as I mentioned earlier. This is something I thought should have happened. I do think that when the director, I feel like not a lot of people talk about this. I always reference it because it just stands out. When the director of this game literally said publicly, "We don't even know what this game is," like in an excited tone, and then left a month later. That immediately told me a red flag of this thing needs to be canceled, because clearly now like they're left with something that is not going to be able to shape up in a major way, and it didn't shape up in a major way. You should have done it in like 2021. I don't know why you waited till 2025. Because there was also news about a banjo game that was being worked on at Rare, and now it's been shelved. You could have been working on the banjo game all those years, or something else. But now I look at Rare and it's like, are they just going to be a Sea of Thieves support studio now? Is that all they're going to be working on from now on? It's aggravating to see one of the oldest and like most legendary developers in the industry basically be reduced like this. I always think about it, it's like, damn, Xbox really was like the worst thing to ever happen to what is one of the strongest game companies, in my opinion.
I mean, this is when you need an asshole who can say no at the top of your company, because that's how companies run. And how you prevent things like this from going on and happening. So it's like, you need to say, no, this isn't working, we're going to work on something else. And people may leave because of that, because you canned their project, but let them pitch you something different.
Yeah, no, you wasted their time by stringing them along all these years, and then eventually it was like, oh, we got something kind of going now, and then right then and there, that's when you decide to cancel. It's like, you can't be just like wishy-washy about this stuff. You have to be, and also this was pointed out. Phil Spencer was on the Xbox Era podcast, because of course he is. He just needs to talk. Like earlier this year in February, and was talking about like, oh, I played Everwild. It's really cool. We're gonna be showing it off soon. Guess not. Guess you either he was lying or he didn't know. Then effectively, it's like, okay, you didn't know. How do you not know what you're gonna do with Everwild in February to now we're in July and you cancel it?
Because you have the CEO of Microsoft come and say, hey, you got to cut costs, and he just says yes.
Papa Satya. It's aggravating. And then, of course, the last one here. Microsoft is closing down Xbox Studio The Initiative, with Perfect Dark killed as well, joining Everwild and ZeniMax's new IP and other unannounced projects. I actually missed that part of the headline. Jez Corden brought this up. Hang on, where is it? There was something else. Oh, okay. Perfect Dark was set to be a revival of Rare's classic stealth IP from the early 2000s. The team at the initiative was set up in 2018 with studio heavyweights, including leader Daryl Gallagher of Tomb Raider fame. Gallagher's former team at Crystal Dynamics was working together with Microsoft on Perfect Dark, and that partnership will now also conclude. And that immediately tells you, it's like, okay, so Crystal Dynamics is now out of a job with this Perfect Dark game. What are they going to do now? They're under Embracer Group. I guess they all have to go full steam ahead on this Tomb Raider game now.
Which is
they were
trouble.
Probably really relying on this game to do well and come out, but now they can. And it's like, I'm worried about Crystal Dynamics, who isn't even owned by Xbox, which is crazy that Xbox is now screwing over a team they don't even own. And a lot of other teams they don't even own, as we're going to illustrate later. Yeah, it's just, we talked all about Perfect Dark. That's the most insane one to me, of like, I can't believe we saw that gameplay. It looked awesome, and there's like, you're never getting that. It reminds me of Scalebound, of just a really cool looking project. And at the very least with Scalebound, that one seemed more amicable between Kamiya, Platinum Games, and Xbox. That seemed like they were both not a fan of what was being made. But that was canceled a lot earlier than Perfect Dark was canceled.
It was that thing in the Discord where like we were talking. The headlines were coming out on Twitter and Blue Sky, like, that there was this one game that people were talking about that was going to get canceled. And, like, we were speculating, okay, what's this game going to be? Like, is it State of Decay 3? Is it Perfect Dark? Whatever. And you were like, I think Perfect Dark's fine because they have Crystal Dynamics. Like, I'd be shocked if they were canned. And then, like, not even an hour later, they were like, yeah, it's Perfect Dark. I was like, how? Like, how is that even possible? Like, this, again, just repeating, this is the one that I was the most upset about. because this is the one I was most interested about. It all sucks, obviously, and I wanted Everwild to succeed. I like Sea of Thieves a lot. Like, I thought Everwild was gonna be cool to have Rare do another new IP. They've been working on it for a decade. Like, I wanted Everwild to come out. I'm not a huge ESO fan, but like, that ZeniMax MMO sounded cool. Like
Titanfall gameplay.
Destiny, Titanfall, like all this stuff, Blade Runner, like that stuff sounded cool. But the Perfect Dark one was like, that's the one we saw gameplay of a year ago. That's the one that like had your big budget studio behind it. That yeah, it had a lot of issues, but you were still talking about how like this studio was gonna do some cool stuff, and it just didn't happen. And like as Bob said at the start of the show, yeah, there was a world where I could have predicted this, and I'm sure at some point on the podcast, one of us here would probably predicted Perfect Dark would never come out. But it's like it still sucks to see. I mean, it's still just like you never want to see it happen, and it's just really this one's just really annoying.
I think the one thing too that is kind of just interesting, and I say interesting, like I don't know, it obviously still sucks, but I think the initiative is also just further proof how hard it is to spin up a studio in general, but B, try and spin up a AAA studio. Yeah, of course, a
Oh, yeah.
quadruple A studio is even harder apparently. But like, cause I forget who had tweeted, but it's like, what studio has been started in the last 10 years that specifically was going straight to AAA and actually did anything? Because I can't name one. And I think
Yeah.
it's clear in the last 10 years, the way game development's going, you do have to go the like, I'm just going to say them because they're in recent memory, but just like the Sandfall devs of like, you need to start, and even they kind of started way bigger than I think anyone anticipated, but it's like you got to build yourself up. You have to, that's why like we see teams starting with like remakes. Like you talk about Bloober, like really they tried what was it? What was that Xbox game?
The medium, and then they
Yes.
had like Layers of Fear before that.
Right. They tried like with the medium and Layers of Fear and it didn't work out. And then they do the Silent Hill 2 remake. And now all of a sudden it's like they've rejuvenated themselves. Right. And I know that's not like the perfect example, but it is interesting to see like if you want to create a studio or you want to develop and like really hit the ground running on a studio, it seems like you can't just start at the top. Like you really have to like build your way up. And some people do that by design because they want to stay small. And others they seemingly want to build up to a certain level. And I think it's clear no matter what at this point, you can't just like create a AAA studio out of thin air because it just seems very unattainable in the current game development environment.
A better example, I'd say, Bob, is Larian, where Divinity Original Sin, because Fusion, you've played that. That's a smaller game, like smaller scale game. You get 2 Divinities, and then boom, Baldur's Gate 3, and that's a big budget AAA game, wins Game of the Year, sells millions and millions of copies. Like that is a successful game from a studio that started out small. And it's like I think at this point in this current development infrastructure, you kind of have to start off small. I don't know if you can immediately go, we're doing a AAA studio. You got to go at the very least AA.
And even then, Larian is 30 years old, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're very old.
What?
Yeah,
they were founded.
No way.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay, my bad. Bad example.
But you're right, though. They didn't really gain notoriety until like the last 10, 15 years. So
because they only did they've like only been working with the Divinity games. Yeah, I think they did like the LED Wars or something, but like they've only done the Divinity.
There are way more Divinity games than I thought. Divine Divinity, Beyond Divinity, Divinity 2, Ego Draconis. I'm sorry. I had Larian completely. I don't know anything about PC developers, apparently. My apologies.
Like Jason Schreier, he brought it up on Kind of Funny. Him and another dude that I'm blanking on the name, so I'm sorry. They both brought it up earlier this year where it's like, your studios can't go for that big AAA budget game till like their 3rd or 4th try. Even like Hades in general is still very indie, but like even Supergiant in a way is someone where it's just like they went to Bastion, to Transistor, to Pyre, and then Hades is a lot bigger than all 3 of those games. And it like they didn't get on the map really till Hades. Like other people know those other games, but like Hades is the one that put Supergiant on the map. So it's like it takes 3 to 4 games usually to get anywhere near that. So yes, it is hard to come out like Bob says and put out a new game as a brand new AAA studio. I will say, Concord might have failed, but Firewalk kind of did it. They kind of did it. The game came out. I'm not saying that they succeeded by anything. That's not like a you're wrong, Bob. But like that's an example of a studio where Concord was their first game, and that's a AAA video game. So like. It's a bad example. It's a horrible example.
That's a game that should have been canceled.
It's probably worse than it just getting canceled. But like that's I just thought it was funny to think that immediately when you asked that was the only studio that could come to mind is Firewalk.
I mean, similarly though, Respawn with Titanfall would actually be. That's a little bit older than 10 years.
That's older, yeah.
But like they kind of did do it. Because it is in the very similar way of like, yeah, first it was a multiplayer only game with like story in between games, and then you actually come out with Titanfall 2 and then Apex and blah blah blah.
I was about to say Fire Sprite was one, but apparently they were formed.
Well, what was that? Wasn't one of the Amy Hennig? Was it her or didn't she start up like a studio, or Jade Raymond?
Haven Studios. Yeah, but okay, do you think Fair Games is going to come out and going to be a banger?
No, before that. Didn't she also start up a studio before that? Like when was working with EA on
Motive.
something?
Oh yeah, Motive. Motive's like a good example.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Motive. Yeah.
Motive. And then Amy Hennig's new. Wait, is Amy Hennig's studio new? I think that's a studio she joined. I forget what the studio's called. It's like.
I thought one of those two had a project with a relatively new studio that got canned.
Well, I know Jade Raymond was at Stadia.
Amy Hennig was at Visceral. Visceral is an old studio.
Yeah, Visceral. No, I don't know.
Wait,
I could also,
but you do. But you do make you're making a valid point. Like I do understand the point of like, yeah, coming out as a brand new studio and immediately jumping into AAA. Like as you said, we really haven't seen it. And I'm sure like there is actually a studio out there that we're just all forgetting, like because that just tends to happen. But like. You had Microsoft money. You had Xbox backing. Like this was gonna be their big. This was gonna be their big studio.
Like everyone.
Yeah. Rockstar, Naughty Dog, Insomniac, like everyone.
Yeah. And clearly it just didn't work. I think, and to your point, Fusion, I do think 10, 15 years ago, there are studios that just like came out swinging and was able to make like a high profile game. I just don't think you can do that in today's game development environment anymore.
Yeah. Okay. The initiative had Christian Cantamessa, who is the writer of Red Dead Redemption, so Rockstar developer, Brian Westergaard, senior producer of 2018's God of War, as well as talents from BioWare, Naughty Dog, Respawn, Santa Monica, Blizzard, Insomniac. I just named all of the studios that make like 90% of the money in the industry. Like, I think that's just kind of insane how they had that much talent and most of it left, and then you had to kind of create with scraps, and then you had to get Crystal Dynamics. It's just this weird mess. Absolute
and they
mess.
tried justifying it to be like, oh, we're actually downsizing to make it more agile, and they're going to be like the brainchild, and then we're going to contract it out to a developer. I was like, oh my god, that's like, I mean, yeah, I'm sure I bought it at the time, but in hindsight, that's just like the stupidest thing. I distinctly remember too, Drew Murray from Insomniac was like either the director or like a main like component of what ended up being Perfect Dark, and then he went back to Insomniac after like a year or two, and I think he took a demotion or something just to go back. And I distinctly remember at the time being like, God, what an idiot, why would he do that? Turns out that should have been like the red flag 6 years ago that I just ignored.
And I hate to just bring a broken record, but it comes back to the leadership, where you can get all the talent that we just named, and you can't make it work. That's not their fault. I cannot believe sit here and be like, that's the devs not being able to work together. No, that is whoever is at the top that is controlling the studio fucked it up royally, and they kept fucking it up. So all the talent had to leave. Like, how does that? I don't know. It's just like you can't have that many goated people in one room and it not work.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's what I mean. It's like, I hate to say like, oh, call for jobs. I feel really good about calling for jobs for executives because they'll be fine. Like, I don't think Matt Booty's going to get fired and then we're going to see him like homeless on the streets. It's like, no, just get rid of him. I'm sick of
Yeah, I
his
mean,
ass.
he already killed Midway and got a job at Xbox, so clearly,
That's
and we see that in a lot of just like business in general, where it's like, how is this dude in the position he is when you look at his resume?
John Riccitiello went from fucking up EA in the early 2010s to fucking up Unity recently with
Yeah,
the
right.
Unity
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
I mean, it just says a lot. It's like these guys keep getting. We can't be that low on CEOs, guys. Like, let me take over. I could probably do a better job at this point, which I should not be able to say, which is insane to me. And then last thing, Xbox partnered games. I wanted to bring this up. Romero Games now completely closed following Microsoft cuts its claim from Andy Robinson at VGC. On Wednesday, the studio confirmed it had lost funding for its unannounced shooter after an unnamed publisher, later named as Microsoft, pulled its publishing agreement. It later emerged that employees had lost their jobs after they posted messages on LinkedIn. Now, one employee has claimed the studio had been closed entirely, with all of its over 100 staff members losing their jobs. Now, if you guys don't know, John Romero is the creator of Doom. When the creator of the first-person shooter genre can't even get his game out, I feel like there's an issue with the AAA games industry at this point. Clearly, if like you make one of the most influential games of all time and you can't even get your game out. And also, I wanted to bring this up. Jez Corden had this article. Hideo Kojima's OD is still in development with Xbox, at least for today. Microsoft has called many second-party publishing projects at Xbox, but OD isn't one of them. And then he also tweeted out that Kojima's OD is still in dev with Xbox, trying to find out more about Contraband, but not every second-party game was canned. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. And I think you remember, Bob, we saw at SGF the Wu-Tang game that was rumored to be a second-party deal with Xbox. Xbox isn't involved with that at all either. I don't know why they're just weirdly cutting a lot of their second-party deals off. You know what one of them is that I'm scared for? I think you guys know which one.
For the Xbox deal.
You guys talk to me every day. This is actually really sad.
This is really
Yeah,
sad.
shit. Wait, why am I drawing a blank here?
A second party game, a studio that left Xbox after.
Oh, Toys for Bob. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, duh.
That's the one I'm
Yeah.
terrified for. I have to imagine it's close. I think they're safe because at the very least, I think that one's close to coming out, and they're pretty efficient, so I think they're fine. But the fact that Kojima, is Kojima's game gonna be okay, says a lot. Where Hideo Kojima can't even get his game done at Xbox, and it's what you were saying, Fusion. It just feels like management.
You talk about breaking points. I think not that I don't know what my breaking point actually would be, just because I am obviously a lot more invested into the ecosystem than you guys. But to that extent, I think my breaking point actually would be the discontinuation of the ecosystem. But to a lesser extent, I think canceling Kojima's game when you guys still haven't had a game of the year candidate, and it's like he's literally just released a very strong contender for game of the year. There's a lot of prestige that comes with Kojima, something you haven't had in a while. And like also there hasn't really been a good like Xbox based horror game in a while, and it seems like that's what OD is going to be. So yeah, that one I think would be easily the most puzzling to me, and just be like, why? Like, out of all of them, why?
I'll bring this up. I don't know if you guys have any.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if it's like a tinfoil hat thing, but do you think Xbox leaning very heavy into third-party publishing and then wanting to put their first-party games everywhere? To me, second party has always been a thing of you get second party for exclusivity. Like you get these second party games for we're gonna put this game only on our system thing. You think Xbox now being like, well, we're not gonna have exclusives. We don't need to do this whole second party thing. Like we're gonna stick to our first party stuff. Like let's get away from second party. Is that a thing here where they're like, these games aren't gonna be exclusive to our box, so who cares if we even have our hands on them?
That's why I think Wu-Tang Group.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's why I think the Wu-Tang Group, and I think there was another Xbox game that was going to be published, but isn't anymore. But I can't think of the name. I think they're starting to cut those because there's no reason for them to fund them. I think one of them was Ninja Gaiden 4, but I think that was just too far along.
Yeah, that's out, basically.
But I think
I
like
think
the
it,
Wu-Tang Group game was a big one that was rumored for Xbox for a long time that I just don't think they saw as a reason to fund. One, because it's not a game that's going to sell crazy, and two, it wouldn't be exclusive anyways.
yeah, something I forgot to mention with Toys for Bob specifically is also they're utilizing one of Xbox's IP. So I think that's also why they're probably going to stay. Their game is still going to be published by them, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. Hopefully, I can never predict with this regime. Just last
I
week, I
mean,
would have said Perfect Dark's fine.
well, yeah, and Perfect Dark is their IP, right? So it's that's a tough one. Just real quick on the second party thing. I don't. Yeah, there's not exclusivity, but I think there's still a lot of value in it being Game Pass day one when it otherwise wouldn't be. So there's still it's not the same value, but like I don't think they see this like third party or going more towards third party or releasing it everywhere kind of thing as like, oh, well, we don't need to invest in this at all. I
Well,
don't think
my only
so.
pushback there is there's plenty of non-second party games where they don't publish that they can just put on Game Pass. Like
Sure.
that Wu-Tang or whatever game, they could just put it on Game Pass anyways without having their hands on it. I feel it's got to be that's probably way cheaper than them helping publish the video game.
Yeah. But also I think when you publish it, there are like because they're only getting Game Pass royalties if they do or like a Game Pass bag. But when you publish the game, you are like, to my knowledge, you're getting those sales, like a percentage of those sales too. So like, especially with something like Ninja Gaiden, I think they're going to still have a financial incentive there. Whereas like Bench said, maybe not with Wu-Tang.
Yeah, and it definitely could be a thing where they are just more strict on that second party stuff now, where it's just like
Yeah.
they like the Ninja guy in the world, yeah, they might go and do more second party deals with it, but then the non like one-off games that aren't going to sell as well, that Xbox at one point maybe were like we were going to put this exclusive on our box, blah blah. The entire shift has changed. Maybe they're just like, no, we'll take our hands off. We have no reason.
Man, I miss Perfect Dark already, man. That gameplay was so good.
I miss Dark. Where's he been?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Dark was on the. We saw him like last month. He was there.
We saw it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, really. All right. Well, I think that's about everything. We talked about it for a while, but that's because I think a lot of us are just extremely upset. It's by far the biggest news that happened this week. It seems like it was the talk of the industry. Where do you guys think Xbox goes from here? Like, what's kind of the gameplay at this point? I feel like they just want to prioritize the big games. I don't believe in them wanting to do the smaller stuff, the Double Fines of the world. I feel like they're almost like now, hey, make sure that Elder Scrolls is doing well, that Fallout is doing well, that Sea of Thieves, Halo, Gears, they're Megaton IP, and it's like these small AA, single A games that just they don't matter to them anymore. And I think they want to get the ones that are already in development out, but even then, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those get canceled too.
Yep.
I think Xbox. I think at the end of the day, it sucks to say, but I think Xbox is still fine. Like you're losing a lot of people, and I think Xbox as a
Oh, the
company
company is
bringing in
definitely fine.
money, yes, will be fine. I think they'll be fine. I think their plan. This doesn't change their plan at all. I think they're still leaning third party publishing, and I still
It's
think
Call of Duty.
the future of Xbox can be bright, but I don't think it can be. But I'm not predicting it to be bright and also be a good company, if that makes sense. Like I think the future of
Mhm.
Xbox can be bright and they can do this whole PC handheld thing. They're going to be a third-party publisher. They're going to make a lot of money, but I think there's going to be plenty of more stories like this week where we have more layoffs and smaller studios are going to get canned and they're just going to stick to the Call of Duties, like you said, and they're going to stick to Halo and they're going to stick to their bread and butter. And that sucks, but for a company, I'm sure Xbox will be better in 5 years than it was 5 years ago. Like I don't think Xbox is in any realm of like ever shutting down, but it's also that thing of I think 10 years from now there probably isn't a hardware Xbox console to buy, but it won't matter because their games will be everywhere and they'll be the biggest third publisher in the world and they'll be making billions of dollars.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they have Call of Duty. That's all they really need.
and at the end of the day, like you could probably go back to the previous highly negative Xbox uh news from years prior, and we probably made the same gloom and doom predictions after that one too. And like to Fusion's point, like not to say that they're okay and they're in a good spot and people are going to want to invest in the ecosystem, but like I had mentioned it on the day. It's like we're just constantly in a roller coaster of the it's back, it's over, it's back, it's over. And that seems to be the norm. After a while, it can't be pick a lane because that is the lane, is the just the wild swings of the pendulum. And but like at the end of the day, I'm more in line with Fusion where it's like they're gonna be around. They're going to still be producing games, and I think hopefully producing good games and still be a player in the space, whether that's third party or first party. But I also think too, if they were going to cancel like the smaller project games, they would have shut down Compulsion and Ninja Theory. Granted, I don't think they'll shut down Ninja Theory because I think we've talked about their tech as far as like the motion capture stuff is outsourced by other like development companies and even I think movie companies that makes them money on the side where it's like they kind of have a side hustle. So I don't see them necessarily closing, but like Compulsion, for example, we saw with Tango, the time to close a studio is after you ship a game and before you get your next project greenlit. So if they really weren't going to invest in these smaller games, I think Compulsion would have been the studio to close down, and they didn't get touched. Granted, I know there's still a possibility of that happen. We've heard this isn't the first round of layoffs, so I could very much easily eat my words there, but I don't think there's going to be any drastic changes. Like I think it's going to be that slow gradual thing over time like we've seen the last couple years where yeah, there's a lot of layoffs, but then the other changes kind of are more gradual, not this like, yep, today they're announcing like end of hardware or like, yep, today they're announcing like all of these things are cut and they're only doing this. I think it's just going to be a consistent, slow moving thing.
Yeah, frustrating situation, annoyed, but hopefully we can move past it. Hopefully, I mean, hey, Tony Hawk coming out in a week. I'm not gonna shout out Xbox for that. I'm gonna shout out Activision, which I never thought I'd do. I'm excited to play that
Bring
game.
Bobby back. No, just kidding.
Yeah, bro,
Why did
Bobby.
you cancel it at first?
All he did was a little bit of assault. That's it.
Yeah,
Let's bring him
let's
back.
not bring that guy back. But I don't know. It's just like the last thing I'll say is
Yeah.
I hope Xbox leadership is completely different 3 years from now, but I'm 90% convinced it's going to be the exact same. The only difference would be maybe Phil Spencer retires and then Sarah Bond takes over. But again, like we said at the start of the show, I think you have to cut at least the big three. Like the big three, the unholy trinity is what I'm calling them. Cut them. Get them out of there. Take them someplace else. Like, bring in new blood. I don't care. Get Jim Ryan over there if you have to. Do something. Do something crazy.
No.
Just get those three out of there.
Jim Ryan working at Xbox. No, Xbox, not
Might be my
him.
breaking point.
Not that Xbox. Not that PlayStation executive. We want Shu. Whatever. Let's get into, at least for Fusion, happier news. Naughty Dog posted on Twitter to our Naughty Dog community. We wanted to let you know that studio head Neil Druckmann delivered the following message to our team this morning. Quote, I've made the difficult decision to step away from my creative involvement in The Last of Us on HBO. With work completed on Season 2 and before any meaningful work starts on Season 3, now is the right time for me to transition my complete focus to Naughty Dog and its future projects, including writing and directing our exciting next game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Still hate that name, along with my responsibilities as studio head and head of creative. Co-creating the show has been a career highlight. It's been an honor to work alongside Craig Mazin to executive produce, direct, and write on the last 2 seasons. I'm deeply thankful for the thoughtful approach and dedication the talented cast and crew took to adapting The Last of Us Part 1 and the continued adaptation of The Last of Us Part 2. Fusion, you were celebrating, you were popping bottles. What makes you excited about this change?
One, just want to point out, all the words he just said in that little message right there was probably about as fake as the Phil Spencer one earlier. He didn't mean a damn thing about any of that. Craig Mazin.
Right there with you.
He didn't. Yes, obviously there is probably a large part of Neil, because Haley Gross also walked away from the show. Like, both of them are writers at Naughty Dog, and they have to work on Intergalactic and all the other projects. That is true. Like, they had to step away from the show and actually work on the video games. But like, I truthfully do think Neil Druckmann knows that this was not the best adaptation that could have been out there. That was out there. Like it wasn't. People are very upset, especially fans of the games. I think Neil Druckmann knows that, and I'm sure Neil Druckmann didn't get a lot of more. Like I'm sure he didn't get enough say as he wanted from the HBO directs and from even Craig Mazin and all these other people up there. And I think at this point he just wanted to walk away. He got to direct one episode last season and then one episode in the first season. They're both awesome episodes. He's got his dream of directing television. He's always wanted to do that, so he has that out of the way. I think now he's just like, okay, this thing isn't going where I want it to go. He probably sees a future where it only gets worse because, in my opinion, it's only going to get worse. And he can just go back to focusing on making really good video games. So, like, I know you posted this on the Discord the day it came, and you were like, sorry for more bad news. And I'm like, no, this is actually the greatest news ever. Like, I want Neil Druckmann's name away from anything to do with this TV show. Like, the amount of hate Neil Druckmann gets on top of just in general, like, a lot of people hate him. And then, like, a lot of the hate on the TV show, everyone keeps blaming Neil Druckmann. I'm like, the dude got to direct one episode, and it's your favorite episode, by the way, but, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, I'm sure there's some changes there that he probably also signed off on, and, like, he could take some blowback, but I'm very much in the party of no, Neil Druckmann probably got cucked a lot when it comes to making the show, and I'm happy he's just completely away from it. Just get away from the show in general, get your name out of there, have your name in the credits each week, and then that's fine. Like,
so, are you still going to watch if this season 3 is a comedy?
If I wasn't watching with people who also watch the show, like I watched with like 4 or 5 people, I would not watch the show. But like because I watch with a watch party, as long as they're watching, I'm gonna watch. Sadly, but if this was like if this was something I was watching myself, I would have stopped after episode 2 of this last season.
So are we getting a musical episode?
I hope the show gets canceled, but I would at this point turn it into anything else. Turn it into Joker 2 musical, like do whatever at this point.
Wait, hang on. I think it could work.
No, I know how they.
Abby, you killed my father figure. I hate you.
No, I Fusion, because I know this is close to your heart. I know exactly what they need. They need Benioff and Weiss to come in, really do a good job of adapting the source material, like really
Master
sticking to
Chiefs?
the script, and yeah, make sure.
Master
Listen,
Chiefs?
y'all. I feel bad for you. Your goats went down, but Fallout was pretty good.
Fallout.
Let's fucking go.
Season 2, let's go.
Let's go, baby. One last thing. I am still shocked by the amount of people who are still upset about Last of Us 2. Like, listen, I understand you didn't like the game. It was 5 years ago. Like, what are we even doing anymore, guys? We gotta think about other video games. Well, let's get into our next story. A win for Xbox in a sea of losses. Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox in August. Charlie Intel posted that on Twitter. This is interesting, Fusion. We were talking about this. This is not published by a secondary source like a lot of the Bandai Namco stuff that's coming to Switch. And it's also, I was about to say, it's also not published by the MLB. Obviously, it's not. MLB The Show. Could you imagine? MLB The Show is published by MLB on other platforms. Now, this is a PlayStation Studios published game. This is PlayStation publishing it onto Xbox. What do you think is the reason for this? I guess change, but like just this like desire to get this game onto Xbox from PlayStation.
I don't know if it was PlayStation. I mean, I mean, maybe PlayStation made the call and they're like, we're gonna put this on Xbox, but I don't think so because we have articles from a year ago from like some leakers around the industry that talks about like Arrowhead was in conversations with PlayStation of wanting this game to be on Xbox, like Arrowhead leadership, and I think Arrowhead in general. Anytime you see the devs there and the leadership over at Arrowhead, they seem like a company who wants more independent and they want to just get away from PlayStation as a whole. It seems like they liked what PlayStation did for them, but like we even know their next video game isn't going to be PlayStation published. So I think Arrowhead getting away from the PlayStation brand and being able to put their stuff on Xbox and say, hey, Xbox fans can now experience an Arrowhead game so that when 5 years from now the next Arrowhead game comes out and it's on everywhere, like Xbox fans can be excited about it. I think it was more of that route. I'm sure PlayStation was also like, okay, cool, more money, and they could get away with it. Arrowhead's not a first-party studio, so PlayStation can sit there in the back end and be like, well, our fans hopefully won't be that upset. The fanboys are still upset. Well, like, hopefully some of them won't be upset because Helldivers 2 and Airhead's not first party, so it's not like we're putting God of War over on Xbox. But to me, in my opinion, this one more of Arrowhead and Arrowhead leadership probably begging, maybe not begging, but asking PlayStation multiple times that, hey, can we put this thing over on Xbox? And then finally PlayStation was like, sure, we'll also publish it because, like Bob said earlier, so we get some of that money. And that was the end of it. And now we are where we're at. I think it's more funny that it's the exact same date that Gears of War is coming to PlayStation, because there's a bunch of tweets all over like this is like a 1-for-1 trade. Like PlayStation gets Gears and Xbox gets Helldivers, and like it's just a whole like sports Twitter's been talking about it, but it's just funny to see that it ended up on the same day for both these franchises.
Weird release timing to have it on the day of Gears. Maybe that's PlayStation taking it to Xbox. It's like, we don't want to do this, but here.
Yeah, like it definitely. Someone was like, PlayStation probably also had this in the first round pick or so, for the trade. But yeah, I mean, this is good at the end of the day. I think I've said on this podcast multiple times. If you're in a multiplayer game, you have to be everywhere. I don't care if you have like, even if you're first party. Like my biggest thing, Concord. One of the issues, Concord should have been on Xbox, even as a first party game. The thing with Marathon will luckily be on Xbox. Granted, Bungie's publishing it, but Bungie is still first party technically. Like you have to Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're making a multiplayer game in this space today, you have to be cross-play, cross-platform, and on everything. So, like, I think this is a smart move for Arrowhead. I think this should have happened, though, a year ago. Like, I know me and Bop had conversations about it. I'm sure Xbox fans will show up, but I'm not. But they're obviously, it's not going to be as much as if it was a year ago. Like, it's just not going to be. I'm going to be very interested in the numbers. I think it's going to be a lot lower than most people think. I think Bop thinks it's going to be higher, but like to me, I think this is not going to be some large margin of sales.
I think what's interesting about all this too. I mean, you said it, like, yeah, multiplayer games need to be multi-platform at this point. But like, if there's one audience that like Xbox is known for, it's a shooter, like a multiplayer shooter. And I just, yeah, it should have. I mean, you're right, Fusion. It should have come a lot sooner. But it's also interesting. You look at like the timeline of Helldivers 2 with Arrowhead, and like the fact that their next game is going to be published. Every move they've done since launch seems to have like that. It seems like Sony has kind of implemented has hurt them. I mean, you talk about the Steam requirement, the PSN requirement, that hurt their player base. Not allowing it on Xbox, that hurt their player base. Airhead is like, guys, why are you limiting our audience? Please let us like let more people play this game. And so they slowly started rolling those things back, and then now coming to Xbox. I think it just made sense that it had to come after a while. And to your point, Fusion, yeah, I like, even if there are low sales, like I have a friend who primarily plays on PlayStation and PC, and I would definitely consider him a casual gamer. And he posted like 2 like Helldivers memes from the community or whatever, and it's like the scene from episode 7 of Star Wars, spoilers I guess, where it's like the like Republic come, or the rest of the rebels come and help out Poe Dameron, and it's just like the Xbox community, like the Helldivers fans are so excited for this, so that they have more people saving like Super Earth, like they are seeing this as a complete positive. So it made way too much sense not to do it, and I think PlayStation was like, yeah, we might as well get our bag from it too.
Xbox gamers, buy this game. It fucking rocks. It is so good. It is literally ODST. It's what you want from Halo ODST. This is it.
And this is my one pushback is that, and I know this is gonna sound kind of fanboy. I'm not sure that Xbox gamers, even multiplayer stuff, want to buy a $40 multiplayer game. If this was a Game Pass, I know they would show up. I know Xbox gamers would show up if this was a Game Pass. But like, even Halo Infinite, at the time, they were like, we refuse to pay for multiplayer for Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite multiplayer is free. They were like, we're not buying this. Look at Halo sales for the campaign. Granted, that's different. That's my only worry, is this isn't on Game Pass, and it's now gonna, by the time it comes to Xbox, gonna be 18 months old. There's gonna be people to show up, definitely, and hopefully Helldivers 2 and Arrowhead make an entire. I think they're gonna do really good at making the event for it, doing some story stuff. Like they're gonna do something awesome for when this game does drop. But my only concern is since it's a $40 multiplayer game that's 18 months old and has no Game Pass ties, will they actually show up as well as they should? I'm saying no, but I'm hoping to be wrong.
Yeah, I agree with Fusion. I just don't think it's been 18 months. It's on PC. There's a lot more Xbox and PC togetherness than there is PlayStation and PC. So I think the people that really wanted to jump in on that FOMO probably already did. But they might still show up on Xbox. Who knows?
And at the end of the day, this is not a bad thing though. Like even if this game went over on Xbox and sold 1,000 copies, cool. That's 1,000 more players that get to play this multiplayer game that should have been able to play it 18 months ago. You know what I mean? Like because that's how your multiplayer game should launch. Like I don't care exclusives or not. And I think, sorry, real quick side tangent. I think that's probably one thing with the PlayStation Live Service initiative and why it failed as much as it did. Is PlayStation just probably in all of those games, the Last of Us game, the bin game, the Blueprint game, all of those things, they were probably like, this is only on our console. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if Bungie was one of those people who talked to PlayStation. They were like, you can't do that. Like, just same with Marathon. Like, Marathon's launching on Xbox. Bungie was probably like, hey, PlayStation, you can't just put this multiplayer game only on your console and then PC. It's just, you can't do it in the modern landscape. Like, Xbox has to be involved. And PlayStation was probably like, well, we can't give them God of War IP, even if it's a multiplayer live service thing. And it led to being canceled. It's probably not the actual reason, but like I'm sure those were conversations PlayStation had. So hopefully Arrowhead, again, it's not first party, so it's a little different, but hopefully Arrowhead and Helldivers 2 coming over to Xbox and hopefully having support over there shows PlayStation for the future of their multiplayer projects, because I'm sure they're not done, has to be day and date on Xbox. Or at least a way closer 6 months something development.
Well, I'll ask one more question for y'all. Switch 2, since it's coming to Xbox, there's any possibility it could come to Switch 2? I feel like Switch 2 is capable hardware. You guys have seen Helldivers 2 gameplay, though. That thing is very particle effect heavy. I don't know how well the Switch 2 could run it. They could probably get it to work, but I don't know how much they want to like spend development resources trying to get it to make work. And though the fact is, this thing is coming to Series S as well, and if it runs on there, it could probably run on Switch 2.
That's what I was gonna say. If the Series S performance will be the kind of indicator here. If it's not holding 30 and it's running at like 540p, then it's not coming to Switch 2 anytime soon. But if it's like 1080 60 or 1440 60 and it's okay, it can hold up. And also too, like I'm pretty sure I'll have to go look at what the minimum spec is on PC, because that actually is the indicator. Like if old cardboard boxes can still run it, then I think Switch 2 will be fine.
Fusion's computer can't run it. That's for damn sure.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I'm sorry. I will say, if I see a Switch 2 logo next to one of my teammates, I'm out. I'm not playing with you.
They're probably playing handheld. They're like,
yeah, I'm not playing with your analog triggers, whatever the fuck they're called.
I would say minimum requirements, Bob, are 8 gigabytes of RAM and they're a 1050 Ti. Now recommended, which is obviously more of what you want, is like they recommend a 2060 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay, yeah, the RAM requirement's gonna be tough, but the and it can run on a hard drive. You don't need an SSD. Like,
yeah,
it is doable. I just don't know how well it'll run.
I would say recommended. It says SSD recommended, but obviously
yeah.
they're just recommending it. But yeah.
Well, we'll see. And also, I mean, like the thing is with PC specs and console specs, like it's like different ecosystems. They can maybe try to adjust it as is. I don't know. I don't think it would come, but who knows? Because also, I mean, like, what Switch 2 players are going to play Helldivers 2? I don't think that audience overlap is as strong as Xbox, personally.
Definitely not.
Next, speaking of Nintendo confirms that Donkey Kong Bonanza is being made by the Mario Odyssey team. Quote, the development team of Donkey Kong Bonanza is the same as for Mario Odyssey. This was a rumor for a while that this was the 3D Mario team, even back when this game first leaked in like 2023, I think.
Well,
wait, let me get my bars off first. It is interesting because we recently got that rumor from Kiwi Talks, if you guys remember, who was talking about how he thinks that, or not he thinks, like he was straight up adamant, like this is a team within the Odyssey team, not specifically the Odyssey developers. They're working on the next 3D Mario, while this small splinter team is working on Bonanza. which that's a rumor I fully believe. I'm curious to see how
Agreed.
big the team is, but this makes sense. This is good use of resources. And hey, listen, I mean, they have split up before. They've split for Bowser's Fury. They split for Captain Toad. This is not new with this team. So really excited. I mean, 2 weeks away from this game. So if we can get this team making a Donkey Kong game, I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely
Seven.
believe that it's a splinter team within that. EPD 8, I think is what it is.
7.
So 7,
EPD
okay.
Tokyo.
You're kind of a
Mhm.
fraud Nintendo fan. Didn't even know the number.
I'll be honest, I don't even know if that's the right number. I'm hoping it is.
I thought it was 8. Let's hope you didn't correct me.
I thought A was Mario Kart.
EPD
We'll
7 is. Okay, well, I was wrong. EPD 7 is Metroid.
I was right.
No, EPD 7 is the. Yeah. And then EPD 8 is EPD Tokyo. All right, Bench, I'm sorry. You got my ass. I'm mad at myself now. Let's talk about something else that'll get someone else here mad. Outriders 2 was one of the 2 canceled People Can Fly projects. Tom Henderson brought this up. The report came from a relatively new outlet named The Thumb Wars, but Insider Gaming can corroborate the details. Footage and screenshots sent to Insider Gaming of the project under the condition that it would not be made public show that the game wasn't in a stage deemed nearly finished as initially reported. The game, which was cut under the codename Project Gemini, was in its motion capture stage of development earlier this year. As for why it was canceled, the reasoning hasn't been publicly announced, but several sources have stated that the issue stemmed from the alleged funding and communication issues with the game's publisher, Square Enix. Look who it is.
My goats!
The worst gaming company of all time.
Well,
Second worst.
next to Xbox, but
Yeah, second worst. Fusion, Bob, did either of you play Outriders? I didn't get into it.
I played Outriders. Day one, $70. I bought that game. So, yeah.
You didn't get on Game Pass?
No, I had it on PlayStation. I have a physical copy of Outriders. I love Outriders. This week for game cancellations sucked ass for me. I felt like it was like, I mean, it could have been worse, but it felt like a lot of the games I was like, I actually had interest in about all of them, and they all got canceled this week. But yeah, this was, I was actually, I think Xbox just overshadowed it because I was surprised how much this news story wasn't getting picked up on. Like, it felt like it went really under the
was just
radar.
rumored very heavily when the first cancel, like when we knew that they canceled 2 projects. It was pretty obvious that one of them was Outriders 2. That's why.
But it was more of the fact that it sounded like it was pretty far along. Like it was like getting far along, and like it was getting there in a playable state. Like, I don't know, it kind of sucks because I think Outriders never got enough love when it came out because it is that looter shooter type of game, but they take all the live service stuff out of it. You don't have the loot boxes, you don't have the nonsense, the battle passes. It never had that. It was just straight up looter shooter, multiplayer, play with friends, like cross play. It had it all. Gameplay felt really good, as you would expect from the People Can Fly, because I think their gameplay is awesome, very much like Gears of War. But it never got the love that I think it deserved, and it just sucks that I never expected an Outriders 2, so it kind of sucks to hear there was actually at the time going to be Outriders 2, and then it went away.
Last story here.
Well, did Bob play Outriders? Did you play Outriders,
It
Bob?
was on Game Pass.
Yeah, no, I did. I just am nearly not as invested as you were, so I was like, I don't have much to add.
I didn't know if you like played
I
it a
do
lot.
want to play, like, I would like to see another People Can Fly, like, made game.
Hey,
that
you're
is
getting one next year.
Yeah, oh my god.
Last story here. Boy's gonna help me out with this one. College basketball teased to return. This is from the EA Sports Twitter account. Bring the madness. Let's run it back. And they just put an EA Sports logo on a basketball with the hashtag CBB. And I also saw something, I think it was from a sports outlet, that it's not going to be ready till 2028. So this seems to be a pretty early tease. I assume we'll get some type of like official teaser later this month, most likely. College basketball, I think, had the same issues as college football, if I'm correct.
Yes.
You guys talk. I don't care. You're going to have to talk for me.
Well, if I remember correctly, college basketball was the first one to like start the chain reaction of the college games getting canceled, because I think it was a UCLA basketball player that started this whole thing. But yeah, it's essentially the same thing as college football, where now they can use the NIL to pay players and compensate them for being in the game, so they can go back
Yeah.
to using names and likenesses and everything. That being said, one, I don't think it's definitely not next year, so at least 2027 or 2028. But also, the interesting thing is like NBA Live got canceled because the game was so bad. So
Yeah.
this isn't the same pedigree that college football has, where everyone still plays the last one because everyone misses it. EA has not made a good basketball game in arguably 20 years. So it'll be a lot more interesting to see what happens with this one. This is a lot more. This could be a whiff, honestly. But I don't know. I mean, I still have hope. I would love to play a March Madness or like a
Oh, yeah.
franchise in basketball nowadays. But maybe I'll be simming the games instead of actually playing them.
I heard
I'm
Bench
still-
speak up. Your ass was hooked in college football. I don't want to hear you talk.
0 and 22, bro.
I am probably the biggest college basketball fan on this panel currently.
I hate the sport. So yeah.
I don't know about that.
I got really into it this last year, and I am very excited for this.
Watching
game.
your team lose.
Well, that's
I would-
everyone.
And then my coach leaving, and then all my players leaving, but we hired a new guy. We're
That's
hyped
just-
about the new guy.
God damn.
Bench, who was the college that was nicknamed Dunk City in like the 2013-2014 March Madness?
I don't know.
City is crazy.
But I monetary value came from March Madness this year for me, so we appreciate that.
It's true.
I do like the point of you bringing up that EA has never. They've made good basketball games, but it's been a long time. That was the thing where I'm seeing a lot of people pick up the story and be like, "Thank God it's not 2K." And some aspects, sure, like the live service stuff and like having to deal with all the like all the crap that 2K does, especially 2K Online, is so bad compared to EA. Like, but 2K at its core is a fantastic simulation basketball game. Like, as someone who does not like NBA 2K for all the stuff outside of the actual gameplay, I would have rather 2K picked up this licensing and got this, which is weird that I don't know if you saw the 2K
Supposed to
tweet,
be
but 2K
open.
tweeted out about college basketball as well. Like, someone said, I wish 2K got this, and 2K responded to the tweet with like eye emojis or something. I don't know if 2K will actually ever make a college basketball game. I'm sure they could. But I think from my perspective, as someone who doesn't even play NBA 2K like that, because I don't care about basketball as much as I do. But like,
It's honestly a bad take.
I don't think there is.
Oh,
a
I
take
love
on
seeing the
opinion, but-
guys tackle each other. That's so much more fun. When they reset. Football is the only sport with loading screens. Okay, that's my take for the day. All right, but continue, Fusion.
God, all right, I
No,
cannot.
There is loading screens. They hit each other, and then it's like, okay, let's
No.
go back, reset position.
but
and
it's
I
much
have
more
to sit through it.
rewarding.
No, the reward takes like 30 fucking minutes, and then oh man, my team lost
But
to
those
the
30 that pays
but
off.
my team lost to the with Kansas City Chiefs again. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
To
but they
get back
cheat.
on track for a second, though, Fusion, my only point there, because you are right, but the only thing I think that's interesting is that EA also hadn't made a good golf game in a long time, and 2K / the golf club were kind of the ones who were making good games. And then they came out with the Road to the Masters a couple years ago, the PGA Tour game, and it's actually really good, and it still gets updates, and I still play it a lot, and it still has a community. So, you know, if
You can
if we hope
hire
and pray,
new studios to do this stuff. Like, it's
Yeah, if
not
we-
like they will never be able to make a new one that's good.
right? I'm hoping that it can make a comeback, and there is precedent for it. But yeah, out of all of them, I'm not. I don't have my hopes up. But also, does this mean that what is it? MLB? Who makes the show?
San Diego.
Yeah.
Sony San
Yeah.
Diego.
Could we get a college baseball game? Because that'd kind of rip too. Like, let's just open up the floodgates.
No way.
Well, they
college baseball teams.
college baseball's taken off right now too. But they kind of started there, as now in the show there is I think it was like 6 different college teams,
Right.
and you can start in college. It's
And that's what
there-
Madden did like 4 years ago before college football came back.
so there is something there. I hope
Yeah.
because college baseball is great. It's always fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Except
I'd
when your
like to play that.
team goes from 1 to none.
You were watching college baseball? God. We were
Yeah.
College
watching it
baseball,
playing enough
especially
games.
in the World Series, like the whole tournament is actually a lot of fun. But I could not be bothered to. It's like real baseball. I could not be bothered to watch the regular season.
When you're in a college campus, it's different though.
Do you guys like your college? Like, do you have love for your college?
Yes,
Okay,
Oh, I
I guess
bleed the
that's
colors.
I guess that's
I
I
have-
was born and raised.
I never understood college sports because I'm like, man, I don't like I don't like this place.
I
I
will
think
forever
if
bleed
my-
maroon.
I think if my teams perpetually sucked while I was in college, I would have a lesser love for them. But my football team was actually pretty good, along with my baseball team, and then the basketball team got pretty good after I left. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I still got love for them.
I am a mega fan for my college.
Mega
Fusion.
fan. What up?
Mega fan.
Fusion, are you a college guy? Do you like
No,
your college? Hell yeah, that's my guy.
No, I used to be like I still watch college football every single weekend, but I don't have a college that I specifically follow like I do with professional sports. Like I just watch the best. I try to watch the best games at that moment in time. Like the noon game, I'm gonna watch the best game playing. I try to watch the ranked games in college. I'm never gonna watch college baseball. Rather actually jump from a building.
That's
College basketball is
crazy.
just as bad. Like I genuinely hate. And my thing, and again, this isn't a sports podcast, but to
Yeah,
me,
well, great video
all
game
of
podcast.
all of those things, they are not. There is not a big enough difference, other than college football, to me between college and high school sports. High school basketball feels very similar to college basketball to me. High school baseball
Oh.
feels very similar to college baseball to me. And they've always been that way my whole life. College football is
What's
the
it
one
take?
college sport that feels gigantically different. And it's just like, I don't know. So it still feels too amateur to me that I don't like it.
Interesting. Okay.
Hell
I
yeah.
can
It's a skill issue.
understand that take, but I don't necessarily agree.
I can understand it with baseball. I don't agree as much with basketball.
No, it's definitely basketball. I get it because a lot of these guys are freshmen and then they leave. Like, so
Yeah.
they're just barely out of high school and then they're gone.
Hang on, let's see if there's a college baseball video game so we can try to circle it back.
If there
I
is one,
doubt
it would be EA or something. San Diego
there's-
definitely has one.
MVP 06 NCAA baseball. Hey guys, I mean the last one was 2007, so
Let's run it back.
Let's run it back. I don't know. I guess this is pretty exciting for the college basketball fans, but I think what you were saying, Fusion, the idea of 2K also having the license. I mean, I think the real hope that people want is 2K and EA both doing sports games for all of the sectors. That way, it's like, okay, they have competition. They're forced to improve their games instead of having a monopoly on Madden and FIFA and these specific brands.
Yes, the licensing issue. The licensing is a big issue in a lot of the sports video game industry, where it's just like, yes, NBA Live wasn't great, as Bob said, but like there was a few years there where I thought 2K was getting better because NBA Live was getting better, and it's just like you don't see that now. Like even in the football game, Madden, college football, like they have zero, and I mean zero competition, so they can just sit there for the most part and not have to worry about, hey, 2K is making this game and it's really good. We're gonna lose players. Like same thing with FIFA and all of that. It's just like there needs to be more. It never hurts to have more of the same stuff, like just from different devs around the world, so people have choice.
I think Bob, I think the game you were talking about was NBA Elite 11, which was so bad that they didn't release it.
Yeah.
But a few stores got copies in still. You want to try to guess how much it goes for on PlayStation 3 for a complete in-box copy?
$500.
$8.
$3,244.
I was gonna say that's some rare shit. That's some
It is extremely rare. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what college basketball is all about. Now to get to what we've been playing, real quick, Fusion. You do have to go, but do you want to just get your quick thoughts on Death Stranding too?
Yeah, I'll give a little bit. I'm like 9 hours in, so I'm not super far. I'm definitely the shortest, and I am here because I haven't got to play as much as I wanted to, with just random life stuff. But I will say from the start, I wasn't loving what I was playing. Not as in I wasn't loving the game. It was more so I think after 50 hours of Death Stranding and taking all my vehicles away from the start and me doing the walking here, I was feeling more salty, not hate, but I was feeling more like, okay, I don't want to be doing this right now. Give me a vehicle, or like it just wasn't hitting the same from a gameplay perspective. The story stuff immediately from the start, I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm in with the characters. I'm here. But like where I'm at 9 hours in, where I'm getting more of like the actual Death Stranding, like the middle of Death Stranding experience with like having more things unlocked and all that. But now I'm early on in this game. Like I am super happy with where I'm at. I will say BTs are annoying me way more than they ever did in the first game. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just like I don't think they buffed them or did anything different. I know I'm going against a new BT that wasn't the first game, but it's just like something about I don't know again if it was 50 hours of Death Stranding and probably that last 30 hours me being able to kind of avoid BTs in general and now not being able to avoid them as much and having to deal with them and not having the utilities that I did at the end of Death Stranding. I don't know. It feels like I'm getting annoyed. Anytime I run into a BT, I'm just like annoyed at this point. I'm like, I just want to like just kill me. Like I just want to go around. Like I don't want to deal with this right now. But everything else feels so much more polished and so much more of quality than the original Death Stranding. So it's just like I'm in a weird spot with it where when I'm not playing it, it's all I'm thinking about. But then I have specific moments that I'm really annoyed about in the game.
Yep, no, all fair. Specifically with BTs, I think you get weapons that very much kind of make them a joke later on, but I think where you're at now is just kind of frustrating, especially when you have to go around them. But at a certain point, I just like when you get the vehicles, you're able to just outrun them.
Yeah,
you
and
start building
I can't wait for
roads,
that.
and you have a path.
Yeah, that's where I'm literally just at the point where I built my first road. So it's like I think from here point on, I think I'm gonna be so much higher on the game. It's not like I'm not like low on the game, but I was kind of just in the middle. Like I just felt like whelmed, and I feel like from this point on, I'm gonna be like impressed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, well, thank you for joining us, Fusion. It was really awesome having you back on. Hope everything goes out well your weekend. Enjoy your time.
And you guys as well. I love that we put the last 10 minutes into a sports podcast real quick. That was a preview for the slice of
tied it
sports
back into
going through.
gaming at the end. You know, that's the pro leagues right there.
But yeah, you guys all enjoy the rest of the podcast, and hopefully Binks doesn't spoil you guys on Death Stranding too, because you know his lips aren't tight.
Hey, I'm about to
pause,
catch
but you know. So, okay, see you guys.
All right, see you, man. Before we get,
you want to go first?
Well, I wanted to real quick actually get Bob's. Of course, he writes 5 games. I want to get him to talk about all his games up to Death Stranding 1, and then we could just right into Death Stranding 2. I think that's kind of the plan. Bob, always with the platter here.
Got the roundup.
Yeah, okay, go for it, man.
Yeah, Rematch is that soccer game that Slow Clap, the Seafood devs, made. I think it's been out for like 2, maybe 3 weeks now. I think 2. The more I play it, the more I love it. The more I think it is easily my Rocket League replacement. It's a very, very, very fun arcade soccer game, going back to sports, that I think a lot of people like. I think there are people who don't normally play sports games that are coming into this and are kind of put off by it, and that's totally fine, but I don't think it's for you. Like, so, because I think legitimately, the way I could describe it is Rocket League, but soccer. And people go, well, that's stupid because FIFA exists. And I'm like, no, there is a reason I'm not saying it's like FIFA and like Rocket League, because it is more of an arcade game than it is a real life simulation game. There's not as many buttons, there's not as many controls. The controls are honestly like very simple. You have a pass, you have a shoot, you have like a couple buttons that can change the trajectory of your passes, and you have a couple buttons that like let you do like a rainbow flick, or you can deke or juke from one side to the other to get around someone. And then you have like a sprint button, right? There's not that many controls, and there's not that many button presses or button coordinations or whatever like there would be in a FIFA, where you got to like move this stick around to do a correct move, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very simple on the surface, but then when you've put 30 hours into the game, like I kind of already have, you realize after a while, you're like, oh, well, instead of shooting it at the goal, because goalies have figured it out by now, what you want to do is kind of like Rocket League, because you're in a glass cube, essentially, you want to shoot it above the goalie, because there's that invisible wall, and it actually rebounds to a guy on the other side, and the goalie dove for it thinking you were shooting on goal, and now he can just like tap it in, right? And then there's like another level of, oh, well, actually, instead of shooting it, you actually want to pass it into the goal because it's a different trajectory and you don't have a windup and it fools the goalie. And so you start realizing like it has a creative depth that I was not expecting, and it really makes the gameplay like fun and unique. And you realize like even though the controls are simple, there is that next level that makes you want to keep getting better and better. Kind of the same in Rocket League, where it's like, okay, it seems very simple, and then people start flying, and you're like, wait a second, I'm not playing the same game anymore. It is very much that level of like simple controls, but then they start getting more and more complex. Although I will say the skill ceiling on Rocket League, I think, is a lot higher than it is here. It's just using the different controls to get better. But it is a lot of fun. I'm really liking that one.
No, yeah, I mean, I've seen it grow a lot more popular than I actually expected it to.
Same.
And I was kind of wrong what my prediction would be for its ceiling. It seems like it's getting a big audience. I'm curious to see what kind of its tail is if it continues to maintain this momentum. I don't think it'll reach a point of like FIFA, like challenging its throne, but I wonder if like EA is starting to at least look over in its direction. It's like, okay, maybe we can do something similar to what they're doing as like a spin-off.
I totally like scoffed at this game when they announced it. I'm like, the Sifu devs are making a soccer game. This looks dumb. I completely retract every negative thing I had to say about it because it's arguably one of the like by the end of the year will be one of my most played games. And it's like right now, if I want to play multiplayer game, it's like let's get on rematch. Let's play a couple games. Like let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then we move into Peak.
Peak, yes. Have you guys heard of Peak? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure you've
this is
seen
the
it.
I don't know anything about it, but I've heard the name.
Okay.
it's the Aggro Crabs game that they made in a game jam.
Yes.
And they kind of went ahead with the full idea. They made it in I think it was 4 or 5 months. My favorite tweet from them is, "Wow, this game that we made in 4 months did better already than the game that we spent like we named the studio after."
Right.
And then the guys who did Another Crab's Treasure.
It's genuinely crazy how good this game is. It definitely falls into the camp of like a Schedule 1 or Among Us. Or,
Friend slop is the term, Bob.
yes, yeah. I mean, it really
So
is.
funny.
Or was it Repo? I know that one's been popular
Yeah, Repo.
lately. Like, definitely gets into the friend slop territory, which I like because the thing I don't like about Repo or Phasmophobia or those other like friend slop games is they're mostly horror based. I don't want to
Yeah.
play a horror game, as we are all very well of by now. I want to play something else. So it's that same proximity chat, but you're climbing a mountain. And the controls are even simpler. It's literally climb, reach your hand out to grab someone if you're at the top and you can help them up. And then you have like items, and you're just managing stamina. You're managing your health, your hunger, and then other variables that can come along the way. And essentially, it's just get to the top of the mountain. And it's a lot easier with friends. And yeah, you can mess around after a while, but then it's like, all right, guys, let's lock in. And then you're like finding the best way up. You're helping each other out. You can kind of mess with each other sometimes. There's a lot of fun, ridiculous items in the game that gives you potential buffs or nerfs. And then you reach the top and you're like, oh, cool. And then the fog clears and there's another one. And then you get to the top of that one and there's another one. And you're like, oh, what the fuck is this game? And so essentially there's 5 of those. And then you actually hit the peak. And then the coolest thing is, though, it's procedurally generated. So every single day it is a new map. So there's always a new challenge. They're constantly tweaking things and adjusting things. So it is kind of endless in that regard. And it is just a really it's very good. It's a very good friend slop game. I've had a lot of fun. The first time I was a little annoyed because we were kind of just messing around with each other because you do have to lock in. Like you do have to help each other. You do have to understand what's going on. You can't just like mess with each other the whole time. And when that happens, it feels so good and so rewarding. And there's been times of like, oh my god, I'm running out of stamina. Grab my hand. And it's like, I got you. It's like a get to the helicopter or
Proximity
like
chat moments.
Yeah, it's those great like friend games where it's like, yeah, the game's fun, but you make the fun with your friends. And there's always just funny moments that you aren't expecting. And those are the best kind of games. So I've had a really good time with it. I think it's still only PC only. Um, but it needs to come to console. It absolutely needs to come to console. This game is
I
perfect for
imagine it
console.
will, because another Craft's Treasure came to console.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
perfect
kind
for
of want
that.
to check this out. I'm gonna ask my friends about it. It looked
Yeah,
cool.
it's a great time. And then Link's Awakening. I mean, we
Not
already
a
know.
game that came out this year, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
But they did get updated this year, so it
Okay.
counts.
Okay.
Yeah, I finally with the Switch 2 upgrades played through that. Great game, absolutely beautiful, ran gorgeous. Definitely is one of my more favorite Zelda experiences. Not that I have very many to pick from, but I really did like. Even I could tell as like a not that like what's the word, as a less
Hardcore.
veteran Zelda player. Even I'm like, oh, this is fun because it's playing with the Zelda formula, but then it's also like mixing in this like the side-scrolling Nintendo, platforming. Not really,
Both
but like
it's both very traditional, but also very weird.
yes, and it's clear it's like the best spin-off you could do that mix it that where it's not completely different, right? Like you're
Yeah.
mixing in other properties and stuff while still somewhat being true to what you normally do. So big fan of that. And then yeah, yesterday I finally started Death Stranding 1. Um and after all
You
this
hated it.
after all this time of being told it's a bop ass game and
I
you're
never said
gonna
that. I
love
never
it,
said
you
that.
just gotta
I never
try
said
that.
that. I want to point that out.
I but you have said that I think I would like this game. Like you have
That's
definitely
all I
encouraged
said.
me to try it. Yes, I know. Um and
Bench is the uncle who like saw you eat an orange once and goes, I think you really love oranges, and buys you a box of oranges and goes, bop ass game, wolf ass game. I don't think he knows this, man.
no, he's the dad that like loves a football team and he's putting me in the football merch as a 1-year-old toddler.
Yep.
He's like,
Oh,
you're gonna
that's
love
gonna
this
be
game.
me. Oh yeah,
Uh
that's how I was raised.
yeah.
That poor kid is gonna be a Texans fan. Oh god.
Yeah. So, but as much as I hate to admit it, he's right. Like I
Oh,
already
okay.
love this game.
Okay.
Like
The way you were
everyone's
building it up, I thought you were gonna say you hated it.
like I know, and like it sucks. 'Cause I'm like shit, you guys are right. I should have played this a long time ago. But like I think the funny thing is obviously with Death Stranding 2 being out, everyone's talking about Death Stranding 1 and like people who are finally getting into it. And everyone's like, yeah, that intro is really slow. There's a lot of cutscenes. You really lose momentum. And I'm sitting over here like, this is fun. I really like what's going on. I really like watching the cutscenes. And so far, the gameplay has been a lot of fun. I was explaining it to Bench earlier, but bringing it back to Roadcraft, because you guys have talked about building
Oh, yeah.
infrastructure and stuff in Death Stranding 2. But even in Death Stranding 1, before I've gone to any of that because I'm not even out of chapter 2 yet. What I really like and what really scratches the itch is the risk reward of like carrying a bunch of cargo, right? Because obviously the closer you
Yeah.
get to your weight limit, it's like, hey buddy, get used to those triggers because you're going to be adjusting your weight and counterbalancing every 5 seconds. And that's good because I want like there should be a risk in taking more packages to the destination, and there should be you should have to plan out your routes and not just be able to go over everything, and like understand your terrain and understanding momentum too. I distinctly remember like reviews of Death Stranding 1 back in 2018 when they're like, yeah, the gameplay is just really clunky. Like, why is there a momentum system? And it's like, because you're running down a hill with like 50 pounds on your back. Why wouldn't there be a momentum system? Um, and then on top of that, you have the stealth aspects both with the BTs and for me, the mules, who I just learned how to like stealth kill. I'm like, okay, here's the Kojima stealth gameplay that I've been waiting for kind of thing. And then just like the whole, theme of wanting to connect the country and wanting to, and I know a lot of people have said this game hits a lot harder post COVID, and I'd agree with that because
Yeah.
there is that sentiment of like and I do like that Norman Reedus's character is just kind of like he's not buying in yet. obviously
he's
I don't
very
know where that
apathetic and
goes.
quiet.
Yeah, he definitely, and he has his reasons to not be. And I think that's interesting. But yeah, I think the overarching, at least early narrative of like wanting to connect the country and like wanting to rehabilitate what was lost. It's like, yeah, that's such a cool message, and something I want to do, and it's leading me forward. So yeah, unfortunately the haters are right. Great call from the haters. I do love this game. I definitely honestly I might be trying to, I don't know what the 100% looks like. I'm also
Oh,
playing on
it's
Steam, so it's
very grindy. It's not worth it.
okay. All right. I'm at least doing like all the side missions and stuff. Like there
Yeah.
might come a point where it's like, yeah, you got to do a cross country on foot. Okay, maybe I won't be doing that. But like I'm definitely trying to do as much of the side content and like side missions that become available to me. So we'll see
Yeah.
how far I get, but I definitely don't think I'll be beelining this. But
Yeah.
parentheses
Yeah.
positive.
But Bob, the
Regrettably,
way
I didn't do much of the side content in 1, and I'm changing that fact for 2, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Bob, the way I feel is uh, earlier this year you played Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, and
Yeah.
you were into the weirdness. You were into the crazy storytelling that Kojima's
Right.
known for, and we're like, yeah, this is fucking amazing. That was kind of the thing that triggered like, oh, he's gonna dig Death Stranding then. Because it is a lot of that weird storytelling and over the top craziness, but also it's filled with roadcraft infrastructure type gameplay that I'm like, yeah, that's a Bob. That's something Bob would like.
Yeah,
Top-ass game.
And I
it
try
is
not to
so
overhype games. That's the
for
thing.
sure. For sure.
But
Yeah,
I
and
felt I
we
was
all
like,
learned our lesson with Wukong.
yeah. Rest in
Well,
peace.
most of us did. I think
Terrible game.
Bench will still pound his chest for a game he thinks other of us are like, but sometimes he's right. So you know what? You can't hate on him too much. But yeah, as far as the story goes, it's like, yeah, I really will just buy into anything. I'm like, yep, Strands, yep, Die Hard Man, yeah, you're cool. Okay, Guillermo del Toro, yeah, let's do it. Like I'm saying yes to everything. And I'm like, yep, this all makes sense. I can rationalize this, sure. Why not? Let's go.
The fact is, and we can use this to transition into DS2, but like Colin was saying in the Discord, like the fact that I still don't know what's happening in the story, and I'm like, that's how you know it's working. Because
Yeah.
like I feel it was the thing with DS1 where like by the 30-hour mark, like near the end of the game, I'm like, oh, now I get it. And I'm feeling that with DS2 where I'm like, wait, what's going on? Oh
That's
god, wait, I
me.
forgot about this. And I feel like I'm like slowly gonna transition into the now I get it.
And then it makes you be very high on the game.
Yeah,
'Cause you're like, it all comes together.
you could start about DS2 bench.
Oh, you go first, because I have a lot to say, so you go first.
Every time you say you have a lot to say, you say 2 sentences. But okay, I'll go first. I'm God, I want to say 21 hours in. I'm near the middle of chapter 6. This is a pet peeve. Okay, I understand it's a pet peeve. I understand this is a tiny thing that no one else cares about, but I care about it. I really hate when games have chapters or like episodes and like some are insanely short and some are insanely long. That is like the biggest pet peeve. Episode 2 in DS2 is no joke like a cutscene. And then episode 3 and 6 are like I've spent like 7 hours at least in both of them. Where I'm like, okay, can you separate them in a better way to make it make more sense or make the episodes longer? Because I don't know why their episodes are even here if some are short, some are long. Anyways, that's a stupid pet peeve, I know,
Yeah.
but it always annoys me in games. But to actually get into the game, yeah, it's just more DS1, which is awesome because I love Death Stranding 1. It's one of my all-time favorite games. And this game is effectively just taking a lot of that formula that was worked so well in the first game and say, hey, here's more of it. Hey, here's some things to make the overall experience better. I was actually a bit on Fusion wavelength when it came to the beginning of this game because I do think that, at least from a gameplay standpoint, it was like I wasn't immediately hooked onto what was I wasn't immediately as hooked into it as I thought I would be, especially with how upgraded I was by the end of DS1. Jumping into DS2, I was like, wow, I have so few of my items that I was like really relying on back then. But honestly, like getting into it now, where I am building roads, I finally got the zip line, which is my favorite thing in the world, and the monorail setup, all that infrastructure gameplay. has really come back in a big way where I'm now excited to do deliveries. So excited. And to the point where I'm barely doing main story stuff. And I feel like I should be doing more stuff in the main story, but I'm just like so interested in just doing deliveries that I'm like, you know what, I could go like mess around and like deliver stuff to the musician again, like all the way across the country. To the point, I'll be honest, I don't know about you, Bench. I've barely fast traveled because I'm like, well, I'm just gonna take a delivery while I'm here. And so it got to the point where I was gonna fast travel and I actually have no idea how to. So I'm like, okay, I'll just walk. Never mind. But overall, I'm very, very high on the game as per usual. I'm waiting for the story to really, really hook me. I think Chapter 5 was very strong in what was happening there. I'm playing on hard mode, so I also got my ass whooped in that chapter as well. But the game. Here's what I'm gonna say, and maybe this is a crazy statement. Kojima did it again. He tricked me because Death Stranding 1 was like using a lot of systems from Metal Gear Solid 5, but it wasn't going fully that way, with especially in terms of combat. The combat in DS1 was pretty bad. Death Stranding 2, Kojima just made Metal Gear Solid 5 too. This is just a sequel to Metal Gear Solid 5. I truly believe that. The way that its gameplay and the way that bases are set up, I'm like, damn, this is just Metal Gear Solid 5, which is one of my all-time favorite like gameplay loops. And they just said this is effectively a smaller version of what we were doing in MGS5 with all the cool shit still intact. And also when you get into the big fights, it's fun as hell. And I'm like really surprised. Like, wow, they took a lot of that feedback about the combat and the like overall stealth gameplay. It's like you could play this like a stealth game, and that's awesome to see. So yeah, very, very high on Death Stranding 2.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens in the story next.
Have you gotten the gloves yet?
Yeah, I got them pretty early on. Or yesterday.
So yeah, like I'm 32 hours in chapter 7. Chapter 7 is another long chapter. So I'm very early on in chapter 7. So this, like Wolf, the story has hooks in me, but not like deep yet. Like I don't know what's going on, so I'm expecting things to come clear into the picture as I think I'm almost halfway. So once I kind of get that halfway point, I think things are going to start showing up. We're like, oh, and then it's going to be a crazy Kojima experience. But I honestly think the vibes of this game, like the gameplay is the same to an extent, but I think the vibes of this game are completely different than DS1 in kind of a weird way. Just everything feels a little different enough to make a big change, in my opinion. And then I think the gameplay is just so much better all around. The gameplay specifically is just so much more refined, and you have so many more options, which you just have so many more options on how to do things that there's like a dozen options to do a single order at a given time, which makes you want to experiment with those options and then continue to do just standard orders, where most of my current porter places are like 4 stars, almost 5 stars, so they just keep going back, and that also unlocks new things, and the lightweight versions of some weapons, which make a big difference when carrying stuff around. Having a lightweight version of a shotgun, assault rifle, sniper, stuff like that really surprisingly makes a big difference. And then building roads and monorails to the point where, like, that's all you're doing for a couple hours. Just everything about this game is addictive, except as the story, I just need to click a little more. But it's starting to get there. Every chapter, there's something new that's, like, kind of just better. So I'm definitely enjoying that so far. And the gameplay, I just can't sing enough praises on. Like, the combat's really fun. The bases, like Wolf said, are just a lot more dynamic, and there's more of them, and they're worth going back to. Like, you don't just finish a base and say, oh, I don't want to go back. You go back because you need materials, and it's just a fun combat encounter, and they get harder over time. So you're not just doing that same difficulty. Things are getting more challenging over time to the point where it's worthwhile going back. And then, like, the game gives you a headset this time, which I don't think it was in DS1, which just makes traveling around that much more fun because there's just constantly great music in your ear the entire time. The soundtrack's great. Characters have been pretty good, just different little teases. Matt Hartman, he's doing well. So just different things. And now they're throwing in some additional things into the deliveries that make it even more satisfying. Like, deliveries have gotten, like, you're just going to chug up all in this cargo in a truck or a bike, and you're going to go there. And now they added like deliveries that need to be cold, so you can only go at night or put it in a truck. So you have to plan that.
Spoilers.
And then the other one is you have to keep it up. You can't keep it upright. It has to be flat. So stuff like those are adding things to the deliveries that weren't originally there that makes it more complicated, and you have to plan more and use things you originally didn't think you had to use. On top of just connecting new places is always fun because then you have more roads to build and more places to see. And I'm 32 hours in, and I've probably seen a little over a third of the continent because I haven't gone far beyond where Wolf is, and we'd say we'd probably about a third, right?
In the game, yeah, my
Yeah.
PlayStation progress is about 40%.
Yeah, mine's about 47. I'm talking about like the map itself, though.
Oh, the map? Yeah, probably. Yeah, a third. That sounds right.
This, like, I think it also is such a big difference where Mexico is its own small thing, but Australia being its own single map just adds to that dynamicness of it that it allows you to plan and just truck along places where DS1 was kind of split up in different ways. And Australia has been great to explore. The dynamic weather is great. The time of day is a game changer, I think. Just pure vistas. I've taken so many screenshots.
Insane.
And on top of, what was I going to say? Just the biome diversity is a lot bigger. Like, I think that was a worry that it'd all be kind of rocky, and it is pretty rocky, but there's definitely some biome diversity in there that makes it fun to look around and explore and deliver.
There's a big old snow mountain.
Haven't been there yet. I'm interested.
Yep. I'm excited to see what's going on there.
So just a lot and just environmental storytelling of some certain places that maybe had a void out, and just many different things like that are adding up to be a really good experience. Now, so far, the characters haven't completely hooked me either, although they're starting to win me over, which I hope as we get into the second half, they build more on these characters, because it's also a way I'm playing it where I'm doing so much side content. Just, there hasn't been a lot of story going on. There's a lot more gameplay, at least in my opinion, in this one than the first one. Which is fine, it's just, I need a little more story to get me going.
Yeah.
And then my only...
No, I was just saying I agree with that. I wish there was more of a narrative hook at this point. It feels like constantly you reach a point where they're like, "We need you on the Magellan, Sam." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, here comes a big story moment." And they're just like, "Oh, tomorrow's being a little quirky." And I was like, "Okay, go do this delivery." I'm like, "Okay, I guess." I'm like wanting some more story stuff to happen.
Which I might like that when they started doing that a little bit, because it kind of adds to the camaraderie of the group a little more than they did before, where you were just trucking along doing orders.
Yeah, for sure. But what were you gonna say your big complaint was?
You can't freely walk around this damn ship. You make a Mass Effect ship, and it's menu-based. I just don't understand that. And maybe because I know eventually you get that, like, camera that's like in the ship and you can go, and I don't know what that's going to look like. I just want to walk around the ship because it's really cool, and I can't do that, and that's sad.
It's really weird. Yeah, I don't. It kind of reminds me of Mother Base in MGS5, where they were like, "Oh, you have this giant base, and most of them are just big shell looking like giant hexagons that you can't really do much in." And I'm like, you know, I would prefer more exploration, I guess.
This game, though, visually stunning. Like,
Yeah,
DS1 already looked
insane.
really good, but I think the character models look top-notch, but what they really focused on was the environments, and that just sticks out so much. And like the fire section, that was crazy.
Yeah. I think my
Just
favorite tweet in relation to like the overall better looking is like, why doesn't Sam tie his hair in a knot like he did in Death Stranding 1? And it was just like because hair physics got better. I was like, yeah, pretty much. Like everything looks substantially better somehow.
Yeah, and then I think the cinematography of the game.
No, I'm not letting you live that one down.
is very good. Like Chapter 5 especially, cutscenes directed very well.
Yeah.
But then I recently got to a cutscene that was just like a crazy, just everything was mapped out. It was absolutely crazy. Took so many screenshots and just everything, and the music went with it. And if they just keep topping themselves, I just need that little story hook to bring some things together, and then I'm just like, this is a crazy experience. which thinking back on the DS1, I don't think that story experience came through until near that like back third,
yeah,
that final
100%.
act, which also leaves you feeling that much more fondly on it because it ended on such a high note. That's why we all remember that game so well. Even if like the story was good all the way up until that point, it didn't come together until that last part, which is what I'm expecting here and what reviewers kind of say, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I heard, I think Dan Reichert talk about it. It was like the ending sequences of this game match the level of craziness that Metal Gear Solid 2 is. And I mean, Bop, you know, that's a pretty insane bar to try to top.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I want to get back into it. Hey, let's stop talking. I want to play more.
Which does suck that I can't play it for a week after tomorrow.
I thought you couldn't play it for a while. Did your thing get
Yeah.
pushed back?
No, I leave for vacation on Monday. Well, tomorrow.
Oh
I'm
God,
going to-
God forbid.
Yeah.
Gotta
Colorado,
be
here I
there
come.
before you. I'm gonna post spoilers in chat. It's gonna feel great.
I'm gonna
I mean, at
beat
least-
Death Stranding 1 and get farther to the bench at Death Stranding 2.
Get his ass.
No, because you'll also be taking your time. Like, apparently the story can be beat in 35 to 40 hours. I'm not even halfway yet. So,
Also, Bop, I know you. You're gonna find some multiplayer game to like get obsessed with.
college football.
Well, no, college football is coming out and Bonanza's coming out, so I will be juggling a lot in July.
Yeah, true. All right, boys. I think that's a podcast. Very fun talks. Fun talks near the end. We had a lot of very annoyed and frustration in the beginning, but overall, I think we kind of dissected everything we needed to dissect, and I had a very fun time. Shout outs to Fusion for joining us for as long as he was able to. And shout outs to you guys making it all the way to the end. If you guys want to find us, we're on all your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube. Like the podcast, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Slice of Gaming. And I think that's about it. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night. You'll catch me on the beach.
I will be on that beach forever. Good night.